Hello and welcome to the Big 12 Mafia College Football Mafia Show. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me are three partners and people that I very much value in the space that we currently own in the Mafia family. That would be Moen After Dark, Sergeant Pickles, and Immaculate. How are you guys doing tonight?
Excellent. Happy Friday, guys.
Still above ground.
Still above ground. Moen, who are we tonight? Johnny Stardust?
Look at this.
Liberace.
Very
All
smart.
right. You're really
Hold on, wait a second. Look at this. I got new bottle of whiskey.
Okay. Okay. Yay.
Oh,
Okay.
changed it
I
up.
appreciate that.
Ohio brewed.
Best you're starting with a fresh one today.
Yeah. There. And it's gonna be one of those shows. So you're gonna don't drink and drive. Okay. That's all I care about, Moen. All right.
Like Summit threw something down. He's not sticking around for very long, but he
Yeah. So we'll get to that
pulling
in just
the
a
Summit
second. Wild Ute will be here in a little bit, and we're going to be losing Sergeant Pickles in a little bit because he's not feeling well tonight. But before we jump into any of that, I want to thank everybody for being here on a Friday night. We're pretty much owning Friday nights now. The Mafia group is growing, and our Friday show is really our I would say the focus, the spotlight of all the work we do on a day-to-day basis. And we want to make sure you all know that we're here for you. We're answering your questions. We're going through the topics of the day and news items for the week. And we're here for you. So please get involved. Please subscribe. Follow us all on Twitter. Turn on your notifications on Twitter and on YouTube. And last but not least, consider becoming a member of the Big 12 Mafia family. How you do that? I will tell you in just a sec. Follow these instructions, and you too can become a Mafia member.
Become a member of Big 12 Mafia by going to our homepage and hitting the join button located next to the subscribe button in the upper right corner. There are several membership levels to choose from.
And again, I want to thank Moen for throwing that video together. We have some new graphics that we're going to be adding to that. We've added actual names to the different groups of subscribers. Moen, why don't you tell everybody what those different groups are?
You've got your soldier membership, your wise guy membership, and then you've got your capo membership. And they each have different things. They all get the same emotes. They all get you access to those wonderful videos behind the paywall, like Wild Ute University. I understand you guys are recording the UNC one tomorrow, correct?
We are. Yep.
So that UNC one will go public tomorrow once that's recorded. The Clemson video went public this afternoon at about 3 o'clock. So if you're not a member and you want to see what member benefits you get, I would skedaddle over there and watch that Clemson video after the stream tonight.
And actually, let me quickly highlight that video so everybody knows what we're talking about for the ones that we actually produce on and own on our channel. Let me share my screen so everybody knows what we're talking about here. Let's see. Don't show these tips again. A lot of love when they add more controls to what's already a pretty tightly controlled screen. All right, here we go. The Clemson video is right here. The Florida State video was a couple weeks ago. That's right here. Sorry, that's the private equity video. The Florida State video is right here. If you're a member, you would have had access to all three of these when they came out. But Clemson just went free today. We encourage everybody to watch that video after our show tonight. Don't peel away now. There's nothing in there that you're going to need in preparation for the show tonight. But this is where we put the lion's share of our protected content, and believe me, it's worth it. The Wild Ute University productions are amazing, and Ute does a great job, and I can't speak highly enough about that. All right, we have news right out the gate here. We've got Summit Hawk, who's done the 5 gifted memberships. What's that all about, Moen?
Winner.
That means he's a winner, and he gifted memberships to 5 people in the community: Morris Simmons, Buckshot Kids, Seminole School, X-Men 88, and Becky Go Huskies. You were all gifted memberships by the living legend, Summit Hawk, I would say tell him thank you in the chat. He couldn't stick around tonight. He's going to watch on demand. So make sure you do thank him or thank him in the comments of the video. Show appreciation, and we appreciate you very much, Summit Hawk. And I'm going to try the shot of this whiskey for Summit Hawk.
I want to make note of a couple things. First of all, Buckshot Kid, coming into tonight's show, you had lost your membership, so you get another free one. I don't know, that's 2 out. You might want to pay it forward because you've been back-to-back months. We appreciate you being around, but it always helps when you think about if you got something free, turn around and give something free to somebody else. Other than that, everybody, you guys are all valued members of our community here, and we want to make sure we're highlighting you, and this isn't about us. The next thing I want to do is Jason Watkins is our latest member of the Big 12 Mafia family. Jason, thanks so much for being here, and the coach. I like the coach branding. Do we have a sounder for Oklahoma?
Winner.
Well, yeah, if you think Oklahoma's a winner.
Okay. All right.
Winner.
Well, I'm going to clap, Jason. Thank you very much for being here. And you're always welcome in the Mafia house. All right. Before we get into any, oh my gosh, they just keep coming back to back to back. Here's another one. Expedition Greg gifting one Big 12 Mafia membership. Thank you so much, Expedition Greg.
Winner.
You've also been around for a while, and we appreciate it. Paying it forward, and that's really, really important. All right. I can't get through these fast enough to get back to Pickles. All right, here we go. So, Pickles, why don't you tell everybody, one, why you're with us tonight, and kind of what's coming up in the near future for you and the show.
Yeah, so apologize for the attempted terrible Barry White voice, but it's the best I can do right now. We got something coming to you new, starting on Mondays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, will be the Big West Mafia show. It's going to be myself and Becky, another Husky fan. We're always happy to have Ducks, Bruins, and Trojans join us in the future. But it's going to be a brand new show, shorter show, but we're going to focus on the 4 incoming schools to the Big Ten news at large, and then obviously any major college football topic. But I really want to have a focus on the new Big Ten members, how they change the conference. And then as we get into the season, we'll obviously highlight their matchups of the week and go through all that kind of thing. But it's exciting. Hopefully I can give you a fresh take as someone who's from a, destroyed and orphaned conference coming into arguably one of the major powers. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Mondays. Big West Mafia.
Big West Mafia. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Moen or Immaculate, do you guys want to say anything about this show that's coming up?
Well, yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what the new guys got, what they can put together for us. I think you're going to have a pretty tough time coming into the conference, but I think they're going to do all right with the show. Looking forward to see what they got.
We sure like to change coaches. That's something we got going for us.
It's a lot going on in the West right now, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Moen?
That's got to be a big story for you guys on Monday. Chip Kelly leaving UCLA. Their AD saying 96 hours to find a new coach. So should be right in that time frame.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that. I saw that Becky had posted, and so I wanted to make sure we brought her into the conversation. Becky, it's great to have you in with us. You guys' show I'm really looking forward to. And did we decide, are we going to try to get together tomorrow or Sunday?
We'll get together tomorrow sometime and go over everything before we hit the launch button.
All right. You just give me a heads up. So, I have a couple hours so I can make sure I can be there. Yep. But yeah, we'll get together and we'll have a conversation. I'm really excited about the show. You guys stepped up and did this on your own. We're not foisting it on you. And so that means a lot to us. And we really want to welcome you to the team. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. I'm excited.
All right. Let's get claps in for that. Thank you very much, Pickles. Next, we got a super chat before we get going. Rock and Rant for $1.99, getting us off the foot really, really fast and furious here. If Big 12 Mafia was a band, it would be today. What does that mean?
I think he's saying we look like we could be a band.
Oh, okay. All right.
4-man band right here.
Well, let's see.
I'm the
So
lead singer.
So I'm the
Obviously.
I'm the front man. Pickles is bass or guitar, one or the
Yeah,
other.
I'm just the guy back behind the drums. We'll just do that.
Oh, you are definitely
you-
the drums guy. There's
You and
no
I are
doubt
gonna have to
about
fight
it.
for that. I played drums for 9 years.
Oh,
All right,
really?
I'll play the bass then.
I'm not
All
very
right.
good, but
Baseline's
I
easy.
enjoyed it.
What's interesting is I could actually see Immaculate being either. I could see him back there just smoking a doobie, just sort of going at it on the bass, or I could see him hitting the drums really, really hard. So
That's why it's the rhythm section, the bass and the drums.
there you go.
Right,
That
we'll
all
just be
goes
chilling in the
together.
background. Let these guys be up front and get the stuff thrown at them from the crowd.
Okay, so Wild Ute's not here. He can't defend himself. Who is he?
Technician.
The
Really?
AV guy.
He's the band's agent.
He's the AV agent. Definitely.
Yeah, he'd be like the manager. He'd be like the
He's
band
the
manager.
manager. Yeah. All right. That's good. All right. Let's get some shout outs here while we're waiting for you to join us. Buckshot Kid was he was back to black, but now he's back to green. Timothy Green says, that's okay, Buckshot. It's good that you are punctual. I like to show up early for everything. Ball games, doctors, doctors, appointments, and before I retired as a West Virginia coal miner work. Let's go Big 12. I love everything you bring to us, Timothy Green. We really appreciate you being here. You're one of the most loyal, and we really do appreciate it. Glenn Lumen, all the way from the Philippines. David Hackett. It's Friday. Hello, guys. Looking forward to another fantastic show from Big 12 Mafia. Let's see. Mr. Monkey says, good to see you. Jan Holk, all the way from Slovenia, says, hey, people, hope you're all having a good Friday. I'm in Saturday already. Yeah, we know.
That's
Try
wild.
not to spread it around too
Love it.
much, John. Billy Tuesday says, it's been a crazy month and a half to be a Buckeye fan. Would you agree with that, Moa?
Yeah, but it's been fun. It's been a roller coaster ride, but it's been fun.
Chip Kelly, tell us why that was a good move for you guys.
Chip Kelly's not a great head coach, but he's a great offensive coordinator, I think. I think if he just has to focus on coordinating the offense, doesn't have to worry about recruiting, any of that stuff, I think that's where he's going to shine.
You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I was not happy to see the news at all. We have to play them this year at Columbus, so that's not going to be fun. It could be a lot of fun, actually, with Iowa's defense that they got coming back. But I think with Chip Kelly and all those weapons, the best running back tandem in the country, that's rough to give that to Chip Kelly.
Does Washington play Ohio State this year?
No, we get Michigan this year. Usually
Okay.
it just
Dodge
works out
that.
on our schedules that you get one or the other, more or less.
Okay.
And I was kind of talking with Immaculate about this. He's like, oh, well, how do you feel about playing Ohio State now that he's the OC? I obviously have a very different opinion of Chip Kelly. He put some hurt on some Husky teams when he was at Oregon, but I haven't been impressed by what he's done ever since he left Oregon. And he's still an outstanding coach. They'll be very good. But, in some hypothetical world where we get to watch Chip Kelly run a season and then a different OC run a season, I think you end up with more or less the same result. Ohio State's talented. They're going to put a good team on the field. And I understand the argument that it takes some of the pressure off of Ryan Day. You get that extra voice in the room that can really nail down and just focus on that side of the ball. But I think teams in the past decade, since Chip Kelly was just running roughshod through everyone to a championship game, I think that they've figured out how to play against those high-speed offenses.
Right.
Even teams in the Pac-12 who are not necessarily known for outstanding defense. And he had all the talent in the world at UCLA. People, I think, need to realize this year has kind of been the exception because their recruiting's been so bad. He's had one foot out the door. UCLA traditionally recruits better than Washington most years, but cannot put that result on the field. They get all the stars in the recruit rankings. And I don't think he's really gotten the best out of his talent. Maybe that changes at Ohio State. He better if he wants to keep his job. But I'm a little more hesitant than it seems some people are about him being this world beater at Ohio State.
It was a heavy sigh of relief that he didn't get the Seahawks OC job.
Yeah, I
I
wasn't
was
super enthusiastic about that.
not at all. No, he's the same old retread, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Moen
not an
said it.
NFL guy.
He can't keep a job to save his life that anybody thinks is important. He was head coach at UCLA, but largely because they couldn't find a better coach at UCLA. It's not because he was the best. So I don't know. I would really be. I know he'll be on a short leash anyway, Moen, but yeah, I don't know if I would be happy if he was my OC at say BYU. I wouldn't.
I do think
like
that it wasn't just Chip Kelly wanting to leave. I think all of the problems that Cal has, UCLA also has financially
Right.
and on the administrative side, they're tied together. They are co-flagships. It's a very unique situation. You don't really have that anywhere else, to my knowledge. They're
Right.
co-flagships in that state. So any financial trouble you can slap on Cal, that's equally shared by UCLA. And they're notorious for having kind of meddlesome administrators, and they want to be a pseudo Stanford or Ivy League where they don't compromise their academics in pursuit of recruits. Now they have done that to an extent because they're still able to pull some very, very high-end talent, but it definitely made his job more difficult than I think he was accustomed to, especially at like in Oregon or other programs.
You think that's right, Moen?
Yeah, I mean, he did have the one big signing when he brought in the kid from Michigan, Dante Moore.
Right,
He left in
that's
the
true.
offseason. So, I mean, he can't compete. Whoever they put in UCLA is not going to compete with USC across town. You're just not.
Right.
The money's going to flow to USC. The talent's going to flow to USC.
Well, I put it all the way back to their uniform colors. Who can play well in baby blue?
It's true.
North
I
Carolina.
don't-
Oh wait,
They're
never
the big
Oh,
exception.
actually,
What about Ole Miss? Ole Miss has baby
that's
blue in their
true.
uniform.
Ole Miss is
Yeah,
pretty
but
good.
they don't win anything. I mean, they win games, but they don't win.
They got to get there. They got to
Yeah.
actually get to the big game to be able to win it. But
Uh,
just remember one thing on that:
Go
Ohio
ahead.
State has talent just all over the place, and even if people know what Chip Kelly's going to throw at them, you still have to stop those guys on the field. So I think
yeah, we'll see. I
think
That
don't
was
know.
true with Ohio State, no matter who was running the offense, though.
That's fair.
we'll see how it goes. I think that I'm a little worried about it myself.
I think the bigger question is this a last desperate measure for Ryan Day to keep his job? I mean, at what point, if he loses again to Michigan,
If he
a
loses to
Michigan
Michigan.
that doesn't have Jim Harbaugh in it, does he
There's-
lose his job?
There's no question he's got to beat Michigan this year with them losing all of their talent and Ohio State perceived to be kind of peaking or on the rise at least. You can't drop it this year.
You think, Moen?
Yeah, I agree with that. If he loses to Michigan at home with all this talent, they will probably replace him with Urban Meyer.
Okay. All right, back to Urban Meyer. All right,
No,
he
I
can
mean,
yell
he's-
at some more
Yeah.
cheerleaders.
He can.
I know he can.
He can win
VC
national
Knoll.
titles too.
Hey, I'm not poking the bear. I'm simply saying I just don't. He has not. Ohio State hasn't been up there the last few years. That's all I'm saying. VC Knoll says time for a little Big 12 Mafia. Thank you so much for being here, Vince. We really appreciate it. BR is in the house. Let's see here. Summit Hawk, we already shouted out. April Holy is somebody new. Let's get this new subscriber a few weeks and absolutely fell in love with this show. Excellent job, guys. Thank you. Thank you, April.
Nice.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
Always good to see.
That's really big. And when we see new people come along and they say that they have fun, that makes us really excited. We're glad you're here. Joe Z is here. Kyle Visser is here. Let's see here. Let's try to get a few more in. Morris Simmons is here. He's a member. Says hello, everyone. Rock and Rant we already caught. Let's see here. That might be it. Oh, Becky Go Huskies already shouted out. Coy, Expedition Greg, we already got. Yeah, we'll stop there. Boy, Tony Lawson, we've got a full house, everybody. So let's get right into the news and quit dinking around on these different shout outs that I've got and get to some actual news items today. All right. Before I bring up any articles, I'm going to ask what's top of your mind tonight, Immaculate?
Well, for me, it's really kind of hard to look past the Chip Kelly situation. But the news that really caught my eye the most is probably the news about the FCS meetings, which to most people may not seem like it's a big deal. But I am of a different mind. I actually think it's a very big deal.
Let me bring that article up so everybody
you want to do
knows
that right
what we're
now?
talking about, and I'll share the link as well. So give me 1 second. All right, now it's up, and let me share the link. Go ahead.
So what we have here is actually we're just hearing about this now, but this has been going on for a little while. The non-football playing schools of the FCS, which is the football championship subdivision of Division I, they are meeting to try to come to terms with each other on, well, basically the best way going forward into the new age of college athletics. We've heard a lot about the Big Ten and the SEC coming together, but this has been going on since before that. And as you can see here is this working group who it wasn't even reported, came together last fall, and they're trying to come together, and as they're going to talk about the frequencies is weekly or even daily. So they're trying to figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to make it by in this. I mean, remember, they're not making a whole lot of money off of sports, but they're in Division I. So some of these issues like House versus NCAA, they might get pulled into that. So they got to figure out what they're going to do. So this was a very interesting article, and we'll see how much you want to go through this. But I thought there were some very important points in this.
We'll definitely dive in. We've had the OG of OGs, Greg Flugars, join the show. So whenever he comes on, we give him a few minutes if he wants to participate. How you doing tonight, Greg? Oh, we're not getting his audio for some reason.
Mhm.
Greg, if you can hear me, reconnect, maybe. It looks like his connection isn't all the way there. Yep, go ahead and reconnect, Greg. I'll bring you in. Let's see here. I just want to read this first couple of paragraphs. Amid the unprecedented disruption in college athletics, football championship subdivision members and Division I through AAA leaders from non-football playing schools are ramping up discussions in a relatively newly formed working group intended to empower like-minded stakeholders to begin formulating a sustainable path forward. It's nice they used the thesaurus in Chat GPT to write that first paragraph. All right, let's try this again.
Yeah.
Greg, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. How you
All
doing?
right. Not good.
Why not?
What? Is he gone?
No,
Huh?
he's there.
No. You talk about PJ Fleck. I'm like, is he gone?
It's serious. I'm not sure why my camera's not working.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know what to
I
make
don't.
of that.
I don't think it's a big deal because
It's
I
not.
probably don't. I probably don't want to be seen at this point.
Everybody knows
boy.
your voice, though.
Everybody
Everyone
knows who you
Greg's
are.
voice.
Wild Ute has joined the stage, by the way. He,
My goodness.
He came in stage left. Anyway,
Yeah, I just jumped in. So, Greg, is Fleck gone?
It's serious. I mean, it's not just. This is okay. I haven't. I apologize. I haven't been watching your show. I'm probably interrupting something. Sorry.
what? No, you're not. Never interrupting. What's
Okay.
up?
Today, go for it.
Couple of things. One is this was not put out by Bruce Feldman, and boy, I'm going to have to be real careful. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to share some information with you guys I wasn't even able to do on my live show. This stuff that was put out by Bruce Feldman and Brett McMurphy wasn't induced by PJ Fleck's agent, Brian Harlan. This is not a negotiation ploy.
Okay.
So this is serious. If you notice, Pete Damo hasn't mentioned any names yet.
No.
Which is more nerve-wracking in this sense, because when he puts out the names, It is about they are the candidates, and this is an agent inducement. That's not what this is about. There is no negotiation. If Fleck goes, he's gone. There is nothing Minnesota can do. Number one. It's being reported by UCLA beat writers out there, UCLA 247 rivals, that PJ Fleck's buyout is $7 million. That's incorrect. It's $5 million.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
That's not very high.
I have let some people know about that. It was not renewed in the last negotiations between Coyle and Fleck, the athletic director, which a lot of people don't know, but that is coming straight from the athletic department, people that I know. So it's $5 million. Okay, I'm going to be very careful here. I'm glad you can't see my face.
Waiting with bated breath, Greg.
If you were a family member or know someone on the Minnesota staff right now, they would tell you that it's DEFCON 1.
DEFCON 1. Okay.
There was a certain recruiting trip out to the West Coast late last week, and the trip back was delayed for unknown reasons. Now you got to remember, Immaculate. Yes, you got to remember something here. This Chip Kelly leaving UCLA and PJ Fleck being one of the prime candidates has been known for weeks. That's why we've been talking about it. And we weren't the only ones that knew this.
This is why you're so worried.
This is why I've been worried for weeks. There was cross-pollination between Fleck and UCLA in 2021. There was there was interest back then. And if you read Martin Jarman's quote from Bruce Feldman from The Athletic today, when Bruce Feldman named PJ Fleck and David Shaw, Martin Jarman said to his players, "We're going to have your new head coach in 96 hours."
Oh, wow.
You don't say that.
Right.
Yes.
Wow.
He says, "We're going to have it fast, 96 hours." You don't say that unless you have a couple on the hook.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's not just about one, it's about having a couple on the hook. So I'm just saying, I'm praying to the gold and maroon God above that this does not happen.
Greg, why would UCLA want Fleck so bad?
Why would they want Fleck so bad?
Yeah, so is it just the Big Ten ties? Like, is he linked? Is he from California?
No, he spent no time in the West Coast except for as a fourth string wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. Why would they want Fleck? Who else could they possibly get that has head coaching experience in the Big Ten? PJ Fleck's record at Minnesota is fantastic. Other than not being able to win the Big Ten West title, what he has done at Minnesota has not been achieved since 1962 to 1964.
Wow.
So Minnesota has just built an NIL collective, and that's why they were able to retain every single one of their players this year, unlike last year. And now UCLA doesn't have really an NIL situation. So if Fleck would go there, they would have to make some promises. We do know Wild Ute. We know this for 100% fact. This is not speculation. That a big monster booster at UCLA wanted PJ Fleck a couple years ago. This is why we know this. Minnesota 247. There's a lot of people who know this. Minneapolis Star Tribune knows this. Everything I'm telling you right now.
Greg, really quick, let me interrupt you. I'm just going to post the link to the Athletic article so that everybody knows the article as a source material. We try to give people credit. right, when we're using our stuff. So I'm just going to post that link to the Athletic article if you guys want to read that on your own once Greg's done here on the show. I invite you to do that. But go ahead, Greg. I just want to make sure I put that link out there.
And UCLA's biggest weakness right now is money, right? They don't have money. They need to their boosters walked away from Chip Kelly immediately. So you better bring in somebody who knows how to, who is a hype man, who can get the boosters going, who can get the money flowing. They just had a $26 million deficit in the last,
Right.
and they're going to get an infusion in cash. And again, we're talking February 9th. I mean, who are their candidates? Dave
PJ Fleck
Clausen?
does talk a good game. I'll give him that.
Yeah. Dave Clausen. Who else? I mean, if you're looking at a power 4 head coach, Tony White, I think would be a great candidate. And he may be the number 1 candidate, right? Great defensive coordinator in Nebraska. Had an unbelievable year last year.
So yeah,
An
Tony White.
ex-Bruin. Great.
This
Tony White.
Akia Malo. I don't know anything about that guy. Defensive coordinator.
He's a
Like
defensive.
Malloy?
He's
Malloy.
yeah,
Is that his name?
Malloy.
Like a Malloy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe the defensive coordinator. They just lost to USC. Maybe he can back. Lynn.
Danton Lynn.
Yep.
Okay.
Pete Carroll.
That I
Yeah.
can see Pete Carroll.
I've heard
Not
that.
in this. And it's hard for these old guys to get back into this with all these changes, though.
But he's anxious to get. He did not want to leave Seattle.
Yeah.
When they didn't retain him, he wanted. I mean, he interviewed for 2 of the positions after he was let go. Pickles, isn't that right? Didn't he interview for Washington and Chargers? Didn't he at San Diego too, right? Or LA?
Kelly? Are you talking about Chip
Pete
Kelly?
Carroll.
Or Pete Carroll?
Yeah.
There was nothing ever really solid, but it was rumored he would interview with other NFL teams. It was never
Okay.
It sounds like he wants to keep coaching, but maybe he's not quite ready to jump 2 feet back in. Like he'll take a year off kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Greg, I know you're under a 4-alarm fire at this point with this thing. What is the rush to get it done? Can you tell everybody why there's an urgency to try to nail this down so that
for UCLA?
Yeah.
Well, because it's so late in the calendar. I mean, we have early signing period, the late signing period now. I mean, Pete Thamel, and there's other stuff that's in the background that I can't talk about. I probably went over my skis a little bit too much, but one of the biggest panic things is how Pete Thamel's handling this. He is very, very close to all these agents, but he's very, very close to Brylan Harlan, which is PJ Fleck's agent, which is Merrick Christensen's agent, which is Dave Clausen's agent. And so we believe, okay, maybe we're wrong. We don't think we're wrong, but we think this is not about a PJ Fleck or whoever the other candidates. This is not about a PJ Fleck negotiation ploy. It would be better if Pete Thamel would just say his name.
Right.
We would feel more relaxed, actually. But because he hasn't, this isn't about going back to Minnesota and back and forth. This is about, is this going to work with each? Is PJ the number 1 target? If he's number 2, the number 1 target, does that one drop? Does Fleck have an opportunity, and can they make the deal work? That's what this is. I think Minnesota's not on the outside looking in at this situation here.
Very fair.
And if this happens, we're looking at 18th place.
Wow.
18th place. I mean, what are we gonna? Yeah. So we're gonna lose. Darius Taylor, our beast of a running back, he'll follow PJ Fleck to UCLA. No question about it.
Greg, do you think that PJ Fleck is a odd or awkward fit for UCLA? Like, I'm just like thinking like of fits, right? That's how I kind of think. And like, I just don't see like much of a really good chemistry or connection there. Am I wrong about that?
That's what UCLA writers are saying, and I just don't. This is a guy who wears skinny jeans. This is a guy who dresses. He's from the Midwest. He's from Illinois. He's from Illinois. Parents, right? They got their big Catholic family, big Notre Dame Fighting Irish fans. They're Midwest, but the way PJ Fleck, how he interacts, he's a big city guy. Him and his wife they'd rather be in Minneapolis than in Lincoln. No offense to Lincoln, Nebraska, Manhattan, Kansas, Lubbock. No offense. But he'd rather be in that big city element. His wife would rather be in that big city. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
It sounds like you're saying, Greg, though, he wears skinny jeans, but they're Carhartt skinny jeans.
Sure. I'm just saying, the guy isn't. I don't mean anything against skinny jeans. The fat guy from Minnesota knows nothing about skinny jeans. I'm just saying. He's a Midwestern guy, wild dude, but he's
hipster. He's a little hipster.
He could fit in. Yeah.
He's not Mike McDaniel, is he?
Mike McDaniel, does he wear skinny jeans?
Oh yes. Oh, that guy's all kinds of sloppy. Did you watch the HBO thing on the Dolphins?
I didn't see it.
Oh my gosh, he's all kind of skinny jeaned up. He's like weighs like 10 pounds. He's just hilarious. Anyway, sorry. That's an inside joke from my head. Anyway. Greg, I have a question for you. So let's get off, and if at all possible, focus off of Minnesota for a second. I know that's tough.
It's gonna be.
I know that's extremely hard. You're a bull seeing red.
You cannot imagine the messages I'm getting right now.
You're a bull seeing red, and I don't want to pile on that very much. But give us your thoughts on this football championship subdivision, Division I, AAA. That's what we started talking about when you joined the show. What did you think about the development and that notification that went out today?
Yeah, I haven't read it. I saw it, haven't read it.
Oh, okay.
I apologize, guys. I've been on this. Okay. I've been on this thing.
It's understandable.
I've been spending all my time.
It's okay.
I mean, all right. You know how you guys know how I'm probably just gonna leave the panel right now. But you guys know how I am on other stories.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine.
We try to find out hotel.
Right.
We're like, this is serious. The information we have, this is very, very serious. There's been trips. There's been delayed trips. There's been stuff. So
we're down the road in this thing. You could actually see this nightmare scenario happening very quickly then.
Yes.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
So pray for Tony White to UCLA or.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll. I think that might be
that's
not
happening. All right, guys. I appreciate you letting me on. I just,
Hey, Greg, keep your chin up, man.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. It'll all work out.
I'll
have a drink for you, Greg.
I appreciate that. I'll let you know what emergency room I actually go to.
That would be good. Yes.
Yeah. Robbinsdale one is better with heart situations. The Maple Grove one is better with other stuff. So all right.
Well, love to have you here, Greg. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Godfather.
All right, guys.
See you later. Greg. Man, he comes in, give us a piece, and drop the mic. I love that. That's
I like
awesome.
the G too on his name, Godfather, right there.
It's kind of what was going on. The way he ended his show, it was very abrupt. So I think he was getting some messages.
Well, we care very much for his health and success. So hopefully PJ Fleck doesn't move. But I think the stars are aligning. Maybe this is one of those situations where the coach at Iowa State, what's his name?
Campbell.
He was
that guy.
Yeah, he was the hottest name, right, for 18 months. he was rumored all over the place to replace some big names in schools. And 18 months later, you don't hear about him anymore. So it's kind of a catching fire with a stick, isn't it?
A little bit, but I'm kind of expecting him to start showing up again on lists with the new Big 12 and what I think Iowa State's going to do in that conference. But yeah, I mean, you're hot until you're not, and
right.
And when you're hot, everyone's talking about you. But a mediocre season, and all of a sudden, no one really wants to spend the millions on you.
Although he'd have to really try hard to have mediocre at Minnesota because their scale's a little bit different than Ohio State's is. Before we get to Ute, since he's last in the door, we'll let him kind of catch us up on his thinking tonight. We have a Becky Go Huskies $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Becky. She says the chain reaction will be bad for some program. And I would say add an S to that, programs. I would agree. Nobody likes coaches moving unless you're the one gaining the coach, right?
Well, or you're gaining their recruits. I was ecstatic when Nick Saban left.
Oh, I bet you were, yeah.
That makes sense.
That temporary transfer portal being open for after a head coach leaves, that's pretty killer. That I wouldn't be surprised if they revisit that at some point in time, because it's murder on these guys. Because now, that's what he's worried about. If
Minnesota's going to get decimated.
Oh, you bet they are.
Where do you go at Minnesota and refill?
Well, so will UCLA, so will everybody else. I mean, it's just going to be a chain reaction of crap.
Oh, Lord.
Until someone gets a coordinator that they bring up, and then it stops it. So
I hadn't even thought of that. It didn't even occur to me. That's
Michigan,
exactly right.
Michigan put a temporary halt on all this by just.
They did actually. They kept theirs. Yeah, I was surprised.
Would have kept rolling right on down the line.
I think that's Sharon Moore, right?
Yeah.
They like him so much they wanted to stick around. At least give him a year. I think that's the indication.
We're not too far away from hearing a coach get hired to a program, and then within the same offseason, turning that job down and getting a better one because the chain reaction has come full circle. There were rumors that Jonathan Smith was at least approached or considered that they were going to throw him an offer to step away from Michigan State a couple months after to come, because he's, West Coast guy, was coached at UW. It made perfect sense. And just my opinion, others have expressed they share this. If Jonathan Smith hadn't taken that job before DeBoer stepped down, if DeBoer hadn't taken the Alabama job before Jonathan Smith left, that he would have been the number one guy at UW over Jed Fish.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, in fact, there was rumors that maybe he'll stop that and come back to UW. But, I totally agree with that.
I don't think we're too far away from something that crazy happening.
That's nuts. All right, Ute, what's your top of mind tonight? You came in loaded for bear, it looks like, wearing some Kansas City Chief jersey and everything else. Big weekend for the Super Bowl. Kind of what's going on with you right now?
Yeah, big weekend. Yeah, absolutely. Super Bowl's coming up on Sunday here. So go Chiefs Nation here, represented tonight. But really the story of the day is UCLA and how much of a dumpster fire UCLA's program is, its football program, and everything about that place. I mean, if Chip Kelly's freaking leaving for an OC position, come on, guys. A head coach to an OC position?
It is Ohio State.
It's in the same conference, man. It's all Big Ten. I can't believe that happened. That's the biggest joke to me, how a UCLA's head coach could jump over in his own conference and be an OC. Just think about that, how messy and ugly that is. And not just that, UCLA's financial position, they nuked an $18 million deficit back in the last fiscal year in the athletic department. And also, going forward, the travel costs for the Big Ten, Calamoni coming up. They can't control their budget. Absolute freaking dumpster fire. That ain't going to change. That's not going to change. UCLA football is going to be a dumpster fire in the Big Ten. It was a horrible decision for UCLA football to go to the Big Ten. I really think that. USC, I understand, but UCLA is going to be a dumpster fire. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten year after year. And I'm sitting here just laughing to myself. I mean, Cal is just going to be milking them dry and stuff and money. So, and all the travel costs, I'm telling you guys, it is not going to work well at all for UCLA. And it's just showing its face right now. Huh?
Someone has to lose out west. They play each other every single year. So
Seriously.
between USC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA, someone's got to be the loser, and looks like it's going to be them.
And UCLA might be a loser in realignment. There might seriously, guys, like because of the Cal tax, the Calamony tax, and the excess travel stuff. I'm just telling you, like I just don't see a big benefit for UCLA here after they're all milk dry because they're just not making a lot of money right now. I get it; they're at a deficit right now in the pack, but this travel cost is going to be substantial. It really is, and after they get milked from Cal Berkeley, I don't know if they even become profitable in the Big Ten. They're not profitable now. They're just going to have more losses coming up.
Well, think about it though, it's true they're going to have more money going out.
Sure.
Anywhere from $10 to $15 million a year just for travel expenses. But still, even with all that, the Big Ten is making so much more money. They're still going to make probably $15 or $20 million a year in 3 years more than they would have made.
How much do you think Cal's going to milk
anything
off
out west though?
Coaches' salaries and Cal. How much do you think Cal's going to milk off UCLA every year?
That's a good question. What do you guys think? I think the number's 10 million. What do you guys?
Well, there you go. There's your excess right there. If it's 10 million,
it's been said 2 to 10 million, and it'll probably be closer to 10 million.
But even with that, they're still going to make $10 million.
They can't balance the budget ever. They're never going to make money.
No, that's deficit spending.
Cluster
California does that better than anybody.
And like in UCLA, it's just going to be a garbage pile team in the Big Ten.
Oh, I think so.
But
I don't like UCLA. So
and like when your head coach leaves for like a peer school in your own conference to be an OC, there you go. Like I don't care who it is, Ohio State or whoever. Like we're not talking about an NFL job. We're talking about your freaking conference. You left a head coaching job to go be an OC. That's a joke, guys. That is a joke.
Word is though that they were pushing to possibly get rid of him, and that was the word going around. Like next year he was going to get let go. So by doing that, they got him to leave on his own, so they don't have to, pay to fire him.
Right.
And he's gone. But I don't know if they play Ohio State. That
wasn't he already a cancer there though?
They already got 1.5 million off of Ohio State for it as well. So they saved on the buyout, plus they made some money off the deal.
It's odd. It looks strange, but they
didn't want him there. They told him that they had the money to fire him this year. They told him that. Yeah. So I mean,
they beat USC and they wanted him there, and they supported him after that game. Like
there you go.
I mean, like you guys, like that's just how I see it. Like it's just fair. If you back up and quit looking at like the small details of the big picture, like you just jumped from a head coach job to an OC job in your own conference. How's that like showing your program?
But I think that's a mark about Chip Kelly. It's not a mark about the school.
I think it's a mark about UCLA football. I've been in the same conference. I mean, Pickles.
Oh, yeah.
UCLA is a cluster. Tell them.
Yeah, UCLA is perennially like the team you look at and say, you should be better than you are. Why are you not better? You have every opportunity and resource. Other than the tradition, you have every standing resource available to you, basically that USC does, but you can't get it together and even approach being a competent team year after year.
I think that's a mark against Chip Kelly, not necessarily UCLA.
What about Jim Mora?
Well, no, with the budget, the whole school.
They've had back
but
there.
Jim Mora is now coaching at UConn. I mean, it's not like these guys went from strength to strength. They were fired or they left of their own accord and haven't exactly. I can't think of the last successful quote unquote UCLA coach.
I just think
8-4 is not successful.
This is a blight on UCLA. Things were already ugly there, and it's not going to be all roses in the Big Ten for them.
Oh, I don't.
For USC, it will
disagree
be.
with
For Oregon and Washington, it will be. But I just think for UCLA, with Calamony and everything else going on there, it's just going to be a dumpster fire.
All right, I think we burned that one anyway. Down.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thanks for bringing us up.
Any Bruins fans in chat, how you doing?
Wow.
Hey, Georgia Tech guys, it's been a long week.
Holy cow, I can tell. All right, let's jump to the top of the board then and go with the headlines of some of the stuff that we've been talking about this week. First one I want to bring up is this, and we'll come back to that article if we have time, Immaculate. We're not forgetting about it.
No,
we'll come back to that one in a second. Let's talk about some of these other ones. We have article that I'm going to share the screen here. This is the latest on the Ross Dellinger, an update on Dartmouth. It says, update on Dartmouth men's basketball unionization effort. NLRB Region 1 Boston has scheduled an in-person election for Dartmouth basketball players to vote on representation by SEIU Local 560 on March 5th. The ballot count will begin at 1 p.m. Eastern on Dartmouth's campus. Mackia, tell us what's going on here.
Well, you can see on this, they're looking on March 5th to actually have the vote to elect whether they're going to be represented by this local. This is for the boys basketball team at Dartmouth. So this is pretty much going to be the start of the employee age of college sports. That's pretty much the gist of it. They won their case that is expected to be appealed. And so now they're having this meeting to elect their representation. And that's the gist of it. It's pretty simple, but it's also pretty big. This is, in my opinion, the start of that new age.
Anybody else have any comments about this? This is obviously big news.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
SEIU is for public service workers. Why is a private school's basketball team falling under SEIU? That makes no sense to me.
I got no idea.
Say that again, Moen.
SEIU is for public sector workers.
Okay.
It's for like state workers, local
Right.
workers. Dartmouth's
Right.
a private college. Why are they unionizing into a public employee union?
Very good question.
I have no idea. Do you know why?
I have no idea. That's a good question, Mon.
Pickles is a union in a union state. Do you have any idea why that would be the case, Pickles?
Sounds like a lawsuit to me, because the rules that define public versus private sector work, excuse me, the rules that define those and what types of employees can belong to what unions are really, really clearly defined as far as existing unions. So that immediately, I mean, as soon as Moen said it, struck a chord. It's like, oh yeah, that's going to get challenged immediately, because now you have to make the distinction: are private school student athletes and public school student athletes considered the same regardless of the university they're playing at, or are they subject to totally different rules?
Someone in chat is saying something. I don't mean to cut you off there, but this should help. Conundrum is saying that it is casino workers, cooks, and bartenders. And we know from experience that this all got started on Dartmouth because of the cafeteria workers. They unionized. And I bet you that's the union that they got into. And so it's probably just carrying over, because some of the basketball players are actually workers in that cafeteria, and that's how all this got started. So,
I posted the link to this tweet. If you guys want to go and check it out, I really encourage you to go and not only read this tweet, but try to get some education on how this is going to work. Look, guys, this is a new world for college sports, right? Yeah,
Right.
players that can unionize.
I wonder if it's because the casinos, because they're all vetted by the state gaming commission.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Could be.
I don't know.
But I mean, and this is coming from NLRB, so maybe there's some connection to that. But if that's who it is, that my guess is that's probably who got in with the cafeteria workers, and it's just connecting through that.
Is it? I don't know about that. It doesn't. I don't necessarily track just because the students have jobs in the. I don't.
I'm saying that's the union.
Those two things don't make any.
Okay.
They're
Conundrum is saying that it's cooks and bartenders, and so they have experience with those type of service workers.
Right.
The first thing that the unionization that happened in Dartmouth College was the cafeteria workers pushed to unionize.
Okay.
So that happened. Now the reason why that connects to the boys basketball team is because I think like 2 or 3 of those guys actually work in the cafeteria. They don't get scholarships. They don't get very much, if any, financial aid. So they had to work there. So they actually became unionized basketball players became unionized through the cafeteria workers effort. So all I'm saying is that they might be the union for the cafeteria workers. And so once you have those connections and those people, that's probably the first union that reached out and talked to them.
So this is a link I just got from Becky. Thank you very much, Becky. Already contributing to the team. We appreciate that very much. So this is that local about SEIU. We are a Service Employees International Union, an organization of 2 million members united by the belief of dignity and worth of workers and the services they provide. And then it goes into a history. So obviously there is a lot of thought that's going in to the planning of this first union. My only question is this being foisted on these players, or are they the ones going out doing the research and they pick the local that they want to sign up for? That's where I get confused, is I don't know if this is being done by the players or it's being done by somebody that's a rep for the players, and then they're just sort of following like lemmings.
My personal guess, because of the scope of what's going to happen, because if this is allowed to stand, it'll open the door for essentially any school, as far as I can tell. I think you'll actually find a union form just for student athletes or collegiate athletes, and they will represent them all collectively, because traditionally unions have agreements as far as what scopes of work belong to what union. And it doesn't necessarily make sense to me that, because collegiate athletes are so unique in that scenario, they really need their own union to represent them in a way that makes sense. So I think you'll see that form probably fairly quickly. My other part with this is I hope these people understand that when they're unionizing and trying to do this collective bargaining thing and potentially going on strike and the whole thing, you are probably going to force a scenario where your school will cut other sports scholarships because they can't afford them and they have to take care of you. So if you're cool with that, then just understand you're going to cut the number of collegiate sports. It's inevitable byproduct.
That would be unfortunate.
Yeah.
I hate hearing that. Becky also follows up. I'll give it to you in a second. Let me just get this. Becky Go Huskies also follows up by saying the union was founded by minorities and ran by minorities 100 years ago. Okay, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, like from a bigger picture, like what is this kind of pointing to? So say that Dartmouth ends up, unionizing and okay, so say that outside of this, maybe if it's not service cafeteria oriented, but the basketball team formally unionizes in some way, shape, or form, what does that mean for the A4 and for like our teams on the day-in-day basis? Like, it's like, what does that result in potentially for our lives with our sports teams?
First off, it's probably going to spread real quick to the other Ivy schools.
Yeah.
I would then look at every other private institution that is, in Division I. Probably going to look at that. I don't know if they're going to be able to get into some of them that are in conferences with a lot of publics. That was actually said by the judge in terms of the Northwestern case that was similar to this, and why they weren't allowed to, because it made them uncompetitive with their conference, which is kind of a cop out, but also the truth. It would have made them very competitive. So I'm looking at it first in the Ivy, and we'll see what that does. And if it spreads from there, or if it's allowed to or not. But I think this is one of those things that's going to push the Ivy to have to make a decision one way or another. Because
really quick,
it's going to hurt.
Sorry, Immaculate. I thought you were done.
No,
Go
good.
ahead. Carrie for $9.99 super chat. We appreciate you being here, Carrie. He's also a member. Says great show and info, guys. Go Knowles.
Go Knowles.
Yeah. Go Knowles.
Right.
You have a bunch of people.
Let him cook now. Let him cook.
I want to just give you some tomahawk chops there for Florida State. They had a pretty good week. They continue to go from strength to strength on their legal and political, not political, but legal briefs. And boy, the tide is sure starting to turn down in the Southeast. And boy, the ACC is in real trouble. We'll get to that hopefully in a little bit. But let's just back on this.
Wait, hold Hold on a second, Moan. What was that sound clip? You play it one more time for Carrie and
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook.
okay,
Why is
that's good
that
stuff, man.
funny?
It's just funny.
We want to
You know
let
what?
that guy cook.
Man, you gotta let him cook. That's
That's it?
that's what the kids are saying nowadays. Bomber.
Okay,
You make a good
I'm too
play in
old.
football,
I'm
you
too
gotta let
old
him
for this
cook,
room.
man.
I'm too old for this. All right, we're an hour in. Before we move on, now we're in. We want to thank everybody who's been on the show already. Greg Flugar coming in and giving us a guest appearance. I want to thank everybody for showing up and watching us on a Friday night. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow all of us on Twitter. And then very, very important, you need to turn on your notifications so you know when our show is going. I mean, we're an hour in and it feels like we just sat down and we're just getting started. So I just want to make sure everybody has a moment, take a breath, and consider becoming a member of the Big 12 Mafia family. And this is how you would do that.
Become a member of Big 12 Mafia by going to our homepage and hitting the join button located next to the subscribe button in the upper right corner. There are several membership levels to choose from.
Thanks again for Moen for putting that together for me. There we go. Okay. Did anybody want to say anything else about this news that's with Dartmouth? Any other angles you want to explore before we move to the next one?
I just wanted to touch on kind of what Becky and I are speaking about in chat. If you do create a designated sports union, do you then have one collective union that bargains for all collegiate athletes, or do you have more specialized unions like one for the football team and one for basketball players? Because the details of their contracts would have to be completely different. And I think an all-encompassing one wouldn't really cover it because, you know, how many games you play is different and travel and this and that and the other. The problem that I think you would genuinely run into is if you separate every single sport into a union. Like, let's say baseball and softball are together, right? And they're the baseball and softball union, and they go to University of Washington and say, hey, I want to get paid like the football players. Why aren't I getting paid by the football players? We're going to refuse to play games unless you start paying us. The school is just going to be like, all right, we're cutting the program. Sorry. Mm-hmm. I think you will start seeing that, and it's not going to be fun. But I think a lot of these student athletes they've discussed unionizing, and I'm not saying they don't have the right to or they shouldn't or this and that. I think they need to be mindful of the consequences because, you know, it goes a lot beyond just their personal experience and finances, especially football affecting everything else as heavily as it does.
So I'm going to reach out to Danielle, maybe Doug Rohan, and we're going to do some research on this unionization issue because across different states, every state has different rules for unions. In Utah, it's a right-to-work state, so there is no unionization that can be mandated at your employer. So is it every employee for themselves? In other words, every player? Or if the team goes for you to be on that team, you have to join the union. These are all questions that are going to take years and years to sort out the details on. Wouldn't you guys think?
I don't think so. I'm like, you guys might have said this, but like in my own mind's eye here, so you have to be considered an employee to unionize, right? That is a core idea here, right? Like you can't. What's the point of unionizing if you're not an employee? Like you have to be an employee to unionize.
No, that's not true. You could be they have contract workers that are in unions that aren't employees.
There must be some type of or a contract, or there must be some type of business financial.
There has to be some sort of but it doesn't. They don't have to be full-time employees.
I think that's what the NLRB case did. It gave them some kind of a status, like
yeah. And so really what we're pointing to is, okay, employees. It's not just a union piece. It's being considered actual employees here. And then you've got the ability to unionize after that consideration too. So it's kind of one and the same in my mind's eye after listening to this discussion.
Anybody else have any? This is a great conversation.
I actually think it's not going to go that far. I think that this is one of those things that's going to kind of scare everyone. Just like you're saying, it's a different situation in each state. There's going to be certain states where they're all of a sudden going to be at a disadvantage to other states. So their schools are going to talk to their states about this. I think this is going to lead more towards something like what Moen has talked about, where they'll have to have some kind of law passed. I know Congress has said they don't want to fix the problem, but they've said they don't mind helping where needed. So I think we'll get some kind of a status where like the conferences are able to give these guys like contract status. Because this can't be done across the board, and there is going to be some definite inequalities for, private schools possibly, and they're just not going to be able to compete.
Anybody else? All right.
You want me to break into some Pete Seeger here?
Go ahead.
Sorry. I'll spare everybody.
Oh, come on. You're drinking. I want to hear Pete Seeger under the mic. Let's go.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. We're drinking whiskey because the union makes us strong.
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, that's right. Kick another one in. We appreciate that. Would be please tip your waitress on your way out, and everybody drive safe. That'd be great. Thank you very much, Moen. That's very good. Before I get to new news and new other bumpers, let's get to some of our valuable members and their comments. Timothy Green says, I've watched all of the extra programs you have put on YouTube from being a member, and they are great. Why don't you tell everybody what's coming up next?
Hey, thanks, Timothy. Much appreciated. We put a lot of work into those videos, like the FSU, Clemson videos, the big. Baum and I are going to record a UNC to the big, and this is actually my favorite of all of them so far, with just some of the data. I think it's pretty telling too. So much appreciated. There's been a lot of work that's been put into that. We take that seriously, have fun researching and everything, but like we really try to get as close as possible to really seeing how the Big Ten might do its own analysis and predict really who they want to go with. So again, much appreciated on that.
I'm also looking forward to it because I like the Tar Heels. I've always been a North Carolina blue guy. That's the one baby blue that I've always supported, and Michael Jordan came from there. So
it'll be a shocker for you, Bomber, too. It will be.
I hope I am shocked. I can't wait. This is one I've been waiting for weeks, so I'm looking forward to it. Anybody else want to say anything to Timothy Green's comment here?
Yeah, thank you for being a coal worker, Timothy Green. We love you guys. Keep us warm.
True. Keep the country warm is right. Coal, yeah, that's very important. Thank you again, Timothy. We appreciate you being a member. Jamie Thornton says, Buckeyes are so loaded. The obvious number one for 2024. Will Ohio State get someone through the portal from UCLA?
Who could go? Who could qualify for?
There's a 4-star tight end that apparently Washington wants, but I think Ohio State should get first look.
Yes, because you've been so lacking of 4 stars. I really feel bad for you, Mo. We should just make some pity on you and have first crack at it.
We voted Washington into the conference. They got to let us have first dibs.
I kind of think that Ohio State is looking at the schools that are coming in and going, what's on the menu today?
Right.
I think it's going to be
that Ohio State-Oregon game this year, that is going to be a banger.
Well, you guys want revenge, right? Last time you played Oregon, they beat you at home.
They beat us at home, so now we're going to Autzen to beat them.
All right.
Washington has already paid their Ohio State tax because JT Tuimalau and Emeka Egbuka are from Seattle area.
There you go.
You're welcome.
They made the right decision.
You have your.
They made a decision.
You have your token Polynesian people that are coming over there.
Big Ten
Leave
fans,
us those on the west in the west area.
Get ready to learn Polynesian, Big Ten fans. It's a lot of vowels.
Hey, Bomber, what happened to us here? So we have 2 Big 12 guys now, and there's 3 Big 10 guys over here. I'm seeing.
Well, for one thing, Pickles is not going to be a full-time guy. He's going to have his own thing on Mondays. But I think maybe we might have to look into that. I don't know.
I'm kind of half and half, aren't I?
Painted ourselves in the corner.
All the way.
Aren't I kind of an ASU guy, like in terms of the Big 12?
You have talked about ASU. It's true. I don't care.
I'm
But
an Ohio
I
State
I
and
don't-
Kansas guy.
There
I
you
don't
go.
disagree. I don't disagree with what you're saying, though. I got to tell you. All right, let's get to another one. Rock and Rant, one of our members, says, Moen, if Chip Kelly had been out of the NFL OC conversation 3 weeks ago, would OSU have hired him or Bob first? Who's Bob?
Bill O'Brien.
Bill
Bill
O'Brien.
O'Brien.
No, they'd have hired Bill O'Brien because they were trying to poach talent from Alabama, which is one of the reasons Julian Sion signed with Ohio State was because of Bill O'Brien. So
That was nice of him to get him that guy and then just take off.
Isn't that the cheaper way to get a high? If you want a player, let's just say this. We got a player that's maybe worth 5 or 6 million at Alabama, and you really want that player, and you know that they're in love with a particular coach. Isn't it cheaper to hire the coach and then have him bring the player with him?
it's true,
I
but
can
Bill
see-
O'Brien was still a decent offensive coordinator
Yeah,
in
you'd have been
Alabama.
good.
I know the
I-
fans weren't happy with him.
I'm just
but
saying there's some structural things we got to be concerned about here. You hire a coach to bring players with them. That might be cheaper than just paying the players.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's like recruiting a high-end salesperson. You bring over their customers. I mean, that's basically
Exactly.
what we're talking about here.
Right.
Right?
It's just right. That's
True.
exactly right. Ah, what a crazy world we live in. All right. Buckshot Kid, another one of our members says, when does the video for UNC Fits in the big come out?
Oh, Buckshot Kid. So that's going to be recorded tomorrow morning. And then Moan, when do you want to release that bad boy?
that'll be released tomorrow afternoon.
There you go,
It might
Buckshot
get
Kid.
late morning. As soon as they let me know, I will download it and make sure there's no audio errors, and I will upload that to the members only section.
Can't wait. Cannot
Yep.
wait. Another one from Timothy Green. It doesn't matter what team you like in college football. This is the channel for you. Always great content. Man, I'm going to have to start paying you, Timothy. Thank you so much.
And Timothy's usually like one of the very first to show up and chat. He's always here and always excited at the very start. So very much.
Very much
appreciate
so. He and Summit Hawk. And yeah, we got a couple really, really good members that we appreciate being here every show. Don, is it Meter or Miter? Meiter.
Dan.
Anyway,
it. Miter.
Dan Miter.
It's Dan.
Dan, what do you guys think about conference media money paying conference media money paying conferences, then paying teams, then paying players? Freshman gets 25,000, sophomore gets 50,000, junior gets 75, seniors get 100,000. Your transfer, you start from scratch. That's
I
innovative.
think, Dan, you're a pretty innovative man.
I like
clearly,
that.
Right here. I love it too. I think that's phenomenal. There's always going to be NIL on top of what schools end up paying players. So if this is going to be the structure from the school itself, then that's great. It's probably going to be a little bit more than even this, I'm kind of thinking, with the media contract landscape. But yeah, I like this tier system.
I do too.
Innovative. Yeah, for sure.
And you're incentivizing people to stick around at your own school. I think that's fantastic.
That probably
anybody
does exist. I would say that probably exists, that you might see kind of a tiered situation like that, but they'll probably get a little more complicated than this. They're probably not going to pay a guy who's mostly on the sidelines the same as a star, because they're going to be trying to keep those guys. I don't know how much that would vary. But yeah, I mean, something I do like the idea of them probably paying more per, just to try to keep guys around. And then it also keep you maybe from transferring, because what I would do is say you transfer into another school and you're a junior there, it would probably be more like first year. So if you transfer somewhere else, you might only get a lower pay unless they agree to pay you more just to get you to come over. But it's an interesting idea.
Moen or Pickles?
I like the idea.
It's a little out there for me. I'd have to give it a deep think, because if you're implying that the media partners are paying players directly, I don't know. If it's saying that the school is going to allocate this structure system, you're still going to have people that are really hell-bent on getting that hot high school recruit in the door, and they're going to offer them way more than this. It's just this weird thing where now we have NIL, and then there's additional money, but it all has a different name. And it's just a little too complicated for my brain in that sense. I think it's going to take a few years to kind of stabilize and sort itself out.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you very much, Dan. Becky Go Huskies, another one of our members, and also going to be a contributing partner here on Monday. Question I have is, what is the chain reaction going to look like? This could be catastrophic for any program that loses their head coach. Spring ball starts soon. Who wants to take that one?
I'd like to just clarify something, okay? Just for everyone's edification here. So, if indeed there is if Chip Kelly's gone, if Fleck leaves Minnesota, there's probably going to be another coach from maybe G5 or where else that goes to Minnesota. Like, what does that mean for the rosters? Okay, so we're past signing day, right? Letters of intent have been signed and everything. Does the 1 month transfer window open still when your coach leaves after you sign your letter of intent after signing day? Can you clarify that for everybody?
Yes.
Even myself.
Yes, it
actually.
does.
Yes, it does. I promise you.
So yeah, it's going to be an absolute cluster here.
Yep.
I mean, you're basically going to lose half your roster if your coach leaves after the fact, right? And the problem with that is, like, you can't sign anybody, right? Because the signing day just passed. So
I wouldn't worry about it too much because you have teams like Oregon who currently have 92 scholarship players on the roster. And they're going to have to sort that out. So there will be bodies available. Is it going to be a good thing? No. But it's better to have a transition. I think that's why UCLA said they want to get a coach in quickly. You want that guy in before the countrywide spring portal opens.
But like Michigan did, to keep their people in house.
Yeah, you at least need bodies on the field to run a proper kind of spring game, and that'll just be your sifting process to see what you have. You'll have more changes over the summer.
The one thing I would say about this is, for one thing, I think a month is ridiculous. If you can't figure it out in 10 days, I don't know what you're doing. The rest of the time, it just gives more time for tampering and for cross, infiltration. I don't, in fact, even a week, I think, would be fair. If you can't decide who you want your coach to be in a week to 10 days, then maybe you shouldn't be one making decisions. The month is a ridiculous time frame. I don't know who came up with that. Must have been an Ohio State or a Michigan or an Alabama or a Georgia. That's all I can anticipate. Greg Sankey, maybe.
Yeah, Alabama fans had a hard time with it because they suddenly found themselves on the other side of that one.
Yeah, it's ugly. Look, if Kyle Whittingham left Utah tomorrow, yeah, they already have Morgan Scallies ready to step in there to be coach, but people are going to be coming after players hard because of the success of the program. And that I could say the same thing at BYU. If I lose Kalani Sitake, the next 3 days would be literal nightmare. I would bury myself under my covers, never leave my bedroom. It's a frightening time. That pain everybody was hearing from Greg Pflugar, he wasn't kidding. Guys, he is really, really, really concerned about losing his coach. So I think it's a big deal.
I think it's one of those situations where we're talking about a policy that when it was first created, it was created with good intentions because they were thinking about the players. Like, if the guy who came, recruited you, who sold you on coming there, who was your guy, basically, I mean, those guys are kind of like secondary fathers to some of these guys. He's up and leaves. It gives the player the chance to be like, okay, this place is totally different for me. I don't want to be stuck here. But like a lot of things that they've done, they don't really think about unintended consequences of what's going to happen because of that choice. And so now, because they've given them this 30 days, it's like, oh, we want to give them enough time to look around and think. And I don't think they saw like what kind of problems that was going to cause down the line. And so they're going to have to look at that and reassess it and figure out something that works a little bit better, that's fair both for the players, but also just so that the rest of the players are getting left behind and have their teams just get ransacked.
My personal fix to it, after going through with the board, I think 30 days is way too long. I get some of these kids are kind of undecided. Washington had more than a handful go into the portal, see the grass ain't always greener, come back, or Fish got a chance to talk to them. I don't necessarily have a problem with them getting a portal window after their coach leaves, but I think they should delay that opening 10 days or 2 weeks let the school hire a new guy, let him come in, make his pitch to the team, because, Washington, their coach leaves, and by the next day you have like 10 guys in the portal. They're like, oh, the coach is gone, I'm gone.
They
don't
didn't
even
even
give the new
stick
guy-
around to
Yeah.
they didn't even
Yeah.
try to look.
And if their outlook is,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to follow this coach no matter where he goes, they're gone anyway. So delaying it 10 days or 2 weeks makes no
Right.
difference to them.
I agree.
Give the school a chance to take a breath, get a new coach in, do a proper hiring process, and then he can make his sales pitch to the team. You still give them their window to go elsewhere if they don't like what he has to say.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said. Thank you, Pickles. Kevin Pryor, not a member yet. Kevin, what are you going to do about that? Kevin Pryor says Pete Carroll is instant star power for UCLA. Obviously, the one thing I would say about Pete is, unfortunately, when he left USC, it was under a bit of a cloud. So I agree with the panel. I don't think he probably wants to get back into college football. Maybe as an OC, but
Nah, I mean, I would love to see it. It's probably a
Right.
fat chance, but it would be fireworks. It would work for UCLA. That would be the greatest thing ever for that program. Getting
Agreed.
Pete Carroll there for 5-10 years.
Could you see him wearing baby blue though?
Oh yeah, man. He's a West Coast guy.
Yeah, but he's not
Baby
he's
blues?
a USC guy. I think he's a loyal.
He's a California beach cruiser guy. He just likes the lifestyle.
I think he came out though shortly after he joined Seattle, and he said, "Yeah, it's USC is my school." I'm pretty sure I remember him talking about that. I don't know.
Kalen DeBoer said that Washington was his dream job. So I don't
Yeah,
really
I
care.
don't
really care what
I
they
don't care
say
about
these days.
Kalen myself.
Yeah. I'm just saying that's you're gonna get that out of every coach nowadays.
Let's see here. Jamie Thornton says, "Hey, Wild Ute, great job on your Clemson video."
Hey, thank you, Jamie. Much appreciated. Like I said before, like dug into a lot of details for that. So, yeah, thank you. Go Hogs.
Replica says, especially as the intensity in these leagues increases, there's no excuse for any of these schools to have a down year. Coaches will be under more pressure than ever before. And I would just say, Replica, thank you for being a member. Go ahead. Anybody want to say anything about
getting
that?
to the
Sorry.
Pete Carroll thing, I think Pete Carroll still has a show cause. I think if he does come back to coaching, I think he's got a suspension waiting for him for all the USC stuff. That
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's still got a show cause. So
And I think they just passed a new rule about that because of Harbaugh. Like there's no time limit on it or something like that. They just passed a new rule by the NCAA because of that.
There's no statute of limitations on it.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I think
It's
they did
been like
that.
20 years.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really?
And the
He's
things
gonna
that
hit-
Pete
get
Carroll
hit
and USC
It was
got in trouble-
2009. He
Yeah.
left in 2009.
A lot of the stuff they got in trouble for is commonplace and encouraged today. That's all I have to say
Yeah.
about it.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah.
Very true. That is one of the biggest problems, and that's why House versus NCAA is happening, because it's all those people now want their money from NIL the past that they were denied.
That's a whole thing.
Mhm.
All right. Anyways, thank you very much, Replica. That's a great comment. We appreciate it. Dan Miter again says, "Man, I hope Greg's blood pressure doesn't cause a heart attack. He didn't sound like a happy camper." Yeah.
He's definitely
Okay,
worried.
well, let's talk about this for a second, okay?
Go ahead.
Like, let's be honest about this. Like, Greg has bias because he loves the program and he's obviously connected to Fleck. Like, how bad could it get at Minnesota? Like, from an outsider's point of view, Minnesota seems like they're not very competitive to win the Big 12, the Big 10, right? Year in, year out, and everything. They win some games, but like they're not a power or anything. Like, so if you lose PJ Fleck, is it really as big a loss as it might seem, or is there more upside possibly there
At Minnesota?
at Minnesota? Yeah, I mean any program, KU with Lance Leipold is all of a sudden a Big 12 contender.
Yeah, but
You
who
get
they
the right
going to
coach.
hire? Who they going to hire to replace him?
Did you ever hear of Lance Leipold before KU hired him? I mean, you never know when you
No,
can
no, I'm
urban
not.
hire or dynamite
Of course,
coach,
no.
right?
I just mean is who they going to get to replace him? That's the risk.
Well, I
He's
don't know.
done really well at Minnesota.
I mean, like, let's pull up his record. What's his overall Big Ten record?
I have no idea.
He's under
Is he winning?
500.
Then, guys, like, what's the fuss?
Well, it's not
He
our
took-
fuss. It's Greg's fuss.
Well, what's Greg's
Right.
fuss?
Well, I don't know. Ask
PJ
him.
Fleck did take them to an 11-2 season where they were on the cusp
Yeah.
of competing for the Big Ten championship.
That was
They've
like
had
4
down
years ago,
years.
right?
That was like 2 years ago.
But that's Minnesota, though. You have to say if the guy can
Right.
get there at all.
If
you have to
Minnesota
try
can
to
get you
keep
to
him.
11-2, you got to keep him.
I think so. I could see it. You would put yourself in his shoes, if you were going to lose Kyle, you would be freaking out about it.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Fleck is not Kyle Whittingham.
Oh, he is there, Kyle Whittingham.
He's
He's
there,
Minnesota's Kyle Whittingham.
Okay,
He's-
so I know
PJ
that we've got
Fleck-
Minnesota fans out there and stuff, but like, I'm just
He doesn't
saying
have
that
to be like
I
directly. as
question
good
your
as Kyle.
expectations a little bit. Like, why the low expectations?
Wait, is it low?
Like,
Moen
yeah, I mean,
said
if he's a
been
losing
winning.
record in the Big Ten conference,
He does
how in
not
the
have a
world?
losing record.
He doesn't.
Here's the thing. His record in the Big Ten is 50-34.
Yeah, I don't know about this upside down record thing. I don't know.
I
what
was
that-
told
2000
I was told only in conference games he had a losing record.
Well, that
Yeah,
might be
I-
because the Big Ten is a slaughterhouse for teams in the West.
So why is that like a stab to the chest then? If you're losing a coach with a losing conference record, like, is it really debilitating for the program?
Becky pointed it out here in chat, and I think Greg actually mentioned it also, that the past 3 years have been the best 3-year stretch in 60 years at Minnesota, since they literally were winning championships in the 1960s. That's how down they've been, and Fleck has been like the sole bright spot since then.
And he really is, like, they have rallied around him. Like, he may not be as winning as Kyle Whittingham, but to them, he's their coach, and he's very much beloved there. When he came there, it was after Kill. Kill had health issues. He came in, I think it was from Western Michigan, and they had done really well there. And he came in and kind of just changed the culture there. And I know some people are like, oh, it's kind of cheesy, but for there, that's what they need. I mean, Minnesota has not been good for a long time. And so he did. He kind of changed the feeling around there. And I know you can look at that record and say that it's not great, and it's not. But for them, he's that guy to them, whether or not anyone else on the outside thinks it's worth it. And so that's why a guy like Flugar is freaked out about it. And as an Iowa guy and knowing the rivalry to it, I'm sitting here going, yeah, I get it, because he was kind of their hope to once just in our rivalry to kind of take it over, which hasn't really happened. But they love him up there, man. I don't know. That's all I can really say.
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he is there, Kyle Whittingham.
Okay.
Regardless of how the rest of the world looks at him,
That's
think
good
he is.
conversation, though. That's good
Yeah.
insights, guys.
All right, let's get to the next one. Conundrum says Chip doesn't want to be a head coach. He wants to be an NFL OC. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that's right. He's not a good head coach. Since he left Oregon, he has been middling. At least that's my opinion of him. Let's see. Conundrum says wrong. SEIU is casino workers. Okay, we already touched on that.
Yeah, he had a bunch of comments about that I was pulling through.
Somebody else had marked them. I'm just going through the marks, the ones you guys marked for me. Seminole School, another one of our members, says, I have become addicted to this show. Well, it's a healthy addiction. We're glad to have you here, Seminole.
Georgia
Thank you very
Tech.
much.
Cheers.
Georgia Tech.
Out of nowhere. Georgia Tech out of nowhere.
Pickles, I know you got to go. You haven't been feeling well. Why don't you tell everybody what's going on Monday and kind of set some expectations about what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, so coming on Monday, it's going to be 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We're going to have the Big West Mafia show. It's just going to be an extension of all the awesome content we already get on here, but it's your take on a now Big Ten, former Pac-12 fans, kind of takes on college football, but specifically on the 4 teams coming into the Big Ten, what they look like, how they're going to adjust, even some of the history between our 2 conferences, because Obviously, with the Rose Bowl, there's a lot of fun matchups there. But it'll also include Big Ten news at large and any college football pressing topic of the day. So stuff like Chip Kelly and UCLA and Minnesota, that's going to be right up our alley. And hopefully I can provide an interesting perspective as someone who came from a dying conference and found a lifeboat.
Like a fantastic lifeboat, like a speedboat is what you found.
Yeah, luxury yacht.
Yeah, it really, one of those Russian oligarch type ships.
We came out of a.
You guys were not You guys weren't saved by the SS Minnow. So
no, we were coming from a dinghy with a hole blown in the bottom.
There you go.
One of those.
Right.
Dude,
I was sitting back
parks
on, man, are these guys
Riviera.
gonna let him get away with that? I was like, oh, no way.
All right, Pickles.
That's
What
fine.
happened? What did I
This
miss?
is my very first show. I made a Washington State fan very upset at me in the comments.
man.
Only
What
took
happened?
one live show, so it
What did he
happened.
say?
He did not like my categorization of Kirk Schultz as a guy trying to play tough when it's already too late. He thought that
it's
I
kind of true.
wasn't being fair to him.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So I want to let everybody know that Pickles and I believe Becky's going to be starting with you
Yep.
first, right?
Yep. And I believe you're going to help kind of get us kicked off.
I am. Yep. I'm going to help for as long as they need me, I guess. I want to invite everybody to really pay attention to that show. It's the Big West Mafia show. It'll be at 8 Eastern on Monday. And bring yourself around and have different conversations, but the same vein. We're not going to lose the stripe that we're currently doing now. And I can't wait for them to get started. You guys have anything else you want to say to Pickles?
Good luck.
Yeah, have a lot of fun with it. Looking forward to see what you guys have to bring, and maybe we'll stop by and do some sneak peeks as well.
Good stuff
Looking
tonight,
forward to
Pickles. Yeah, thanks.
All right, Pickles. We'll see you later. Thanks so much.
All right.
Feel
See you. Go
better.
Dogs.
Yeah,
Have a good
you
night, bud.
bet. All right. Moving right along here, we got a super chat from Grand Dan, who's one of our members for $1. No comment though, Grand. So, if
Appreciate
you
it.
guys see if he posts
Yeah.
something,
It might be
grab
a
it for me.
super. He didn't post anything.
No, I know. I'm saying if he does post something now,
Yeah.
We'll find
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
find it and let me know about it. All right. Next comment, Steve Ohio, Florida says mass exodus when Fickle left Cincinnati. It's a 2 to 3 year process to rebuild the roster, even with the portal. I don't think there's maybe 5 schools in the entire country that wouldn't be super concerned if they lost their coach. And yet, look what happened to
Yeah,
Alabama.
I don't think
The
there's
Rolls-Royce.
a single school.
There might not be a single school anymore Florida State just took them to the woodshed and took all the good pieces and left the rest in a pile on the ground.
How many players did they get from Alabama?
A lot. I haven't looked at the number recently, but it was a lot.
I thought it was like 8 to 10.
Holy
Yeah, I mean, it was
smokes.
It
it was like an
a
entire
full haul.
offensive line or something. I mean, there was a
Oh, yeah.
bunch of people.
They were talking high grade guys too, like not just
all 5 stars, 5 and 4-star
Oh, yeah.
players.
Florida State's going to be. I mean, if they can pull that all together, I mean, that was part of the problem last year was there's a little bit of so many transfers that you got to bring them all together. But
And they've got DJ coming in, right? Like,
They
the
do.
helm.
Mhm.
They do. Yep.
They're a sneaky pick, right? For like the
Mhm.
CFB.
Oh,
sure,
I have
for
them in my
sure.
top 4 right now.
I think I think they're going to win
Yeah.
the ACC and probably
Looks
have a
like
bye. And the question to me isn't if they're in that top 4; it's what's their ranking going to be out of the top 4.
Holy
Like
smoke.
maybe 3rd or 2nd or something like that. Because they could go undefeated again, and then
It's going to come down to their quarterback. They're losing their quarterback's going to be he's in the draft. The kid that got hurt.
Yeah, Jordan
So
Travis.
Jordan Travis. So it'll depend who, if they bring in or have a quarterback, they can step up and play at an elite level. They got to have a front row seat to the CFP next year. Absolutely, they do. Anyway, thank you very much for the comment, Steve. It's good to see you. Let's see here. Let's get to another comment. Timothy Green says Georgia Tech, Georgia
Oh,
Tech, Georgia Tech, Georgia Tech, Georgia Tech.
pain.
You guys
Thank
getting
goodness-
drunk
thank goodness
tonight.
it's Friday, man.
All right, here we go.
Immaculate,
Dan-
where's your drink?
I got it right here.
Georgia Tech.
He's just not a lush like you guys are.
Lush.
Let's see.
Come on.
Dan Meter says, "Are you guys going to talk about the commission's meeting in Dallas?" All right. So of all of us, I think probably Immaculate's most in tune to what came out in Dallas this year, or not this year, but this week. We were expecting big news, and I think it sort of trailed off. What happened with those meetings there?
Yeah, I answered Dan a little bit in chat because I wasn't sure if we'd want to get into this as we did earlier in the week. But just for everyone catching up, the CFP held meetings in Dallas on Monday and Tuesday of this week. Monday seemed to be when the commissioners met for the management committee, and Tuesday was when the board came in. And they didn't really do much of anything. In fact, I'm struggling to even think of one thing that was passed. They didn't pass 5+7.
Right.
They supposedly came to some type of an agreement for a negotiated pay for SMU. Not full, but somewhere in between the G5 pay and the P5 pay. But that's it. I mean, it was pretty much a dud, which is, in my opinion, going to drive some of those conferences to start thinking less and less about the CFP whole situation. You know, if they can't get these simple things passed, and that's not to say that anyone who's holding it up shouldn't be. They shouldn't be working in their best own interest.
Well, why don't you put a name to a face? Why don't you tell
I'm talking
everybody
about
what you're
Schultz
talking
out
about?
of Washington State.
Okay.
Not only do I think he's definitely stopping the 5+7, but he may also be the cause of the SMU. But also Sankey may be voting against SMU because they don't want G5s to continue coming up. I don't know. But yeah, it's starting to get to the point where some of those leaders in there are going to look at this saying, you know, BCS lasted only so long. Maybe, you know, CFPs ended in 2026. We might have to think of a new thing, a new way, because it's just diverging interests, shall we say.
What do you think about that?
You know, I'm thinking about Schultz, and I'm really, really curious on what the chat and what you guys think about Schultz too. Like, is this a good play from Schultz, or is this a bad play? Like,
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
I'm curious. Like, Mona, is there any way we could put up a poll to say, like, hey, like, do you agree with like Schultz's approach, or in some way, shape, or form? Because I'm curious what other people think about that. If I'm a Wazoo fan, I'm kind of thinking that Schultz is my hero right now. Like, you know, he's standing up to the bullies. You got left out and stuff. He's pulling any kind of punch he has to get any kind of leverage and get any type of benefit from my school. And guess what? You're going to get probably left behind anyway. So I can totally see how he's like a hero in some ways and stuff. But on the other side of it, it's like he's blowing everything else up for everybody else. And we might not get to the 5-7 model that we thought. And what does this mean for the future? So curious, like, what people think about that. Like, given those two dynamics, those two perspectives, like is it a good play or not? Like, what's he really getting out of this? What's the best case scenario for Oregon State and Wazoo?
So and that's exactly the crux of the whole thing. You just, both you and Immaculate just nailed it. And on Twitter, I have put my stake in the ground and told people where I believe, look, I'm not a people person. I should say back in general, I don't go out and I'm not gregarious in public. I prefer smaller groups to large groups, but I think relationships are extremely important in the baking industry. I know you know that is true as well. Your personality and how you treat other people is a direct reflection on how successful you are on a day-to-day basis. That's my job as well. I'm a project manager and I deal with people every day. And if I can't do that well, my projects won't be successful and I won't have a job long. So I think this is a really, really high risk reward move. And I am not of the mind that thinks that Schultz should just go in there, burn the bridges, hold out for the 2 years, and then hope for the best in 2026. I think I really think if Washington State goes down that road, they could burn bridges that will never be rebuilt, like SMU type damage that they could do to their program, and it could have lasting effect. In my opinion, I think he needs to, in one way, relent, but do it in a way that shows that he stood up for what he knew what was right, and then hope, just like every other school that's not in a A4 conference right now, that their goodwill will carry over in the boardroom and they can get hopefully an invitation back into a top league. But I think burning your way to the Atlanta, like Sherman marched through Atlanta, I don't think that's a good idea. That's my opinion on it.
Well, I don't know if you want me to go in a little bit on that.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's what we're talking.
I don't think there is such a thing as goodwill. I don't think that there is earning any goodwill to get anyone to come out and help you. This has been a pretty, as Wild Dude said in the past, dog eat dog. It's been pretty brutal. He could come out and agree to do that, and then no one does anything. I kind of understand it. And I kind of get it. Now, you're right. It could end up burning them very hard. That's why I said initially early on, it was like they take what deal you can get early on to try to get to where you need to go. Because the longer this drags out, bad feelings come out. People start to decide, nope, we're not going to work with you. But, I mean, worst case scenario of what happens by them doing this is probably what happens even if they go along with everyone and give them what they want. Like, what is there to really lose in this game for Washington State and Oregon State that they end up being with the Mountain West schools? That could happen either way. Mm-hmm. So if they see a chance, I mean, we're not there. I'm not there. I don't want to judge because I don't know what conversations he's having with anyone else. I don't know what odds there are. Like I've had a hard time even with Oregon State and Washington State fans saying, look, I just don't know. The one shot that I saw early on didn't pan out. I don't want to say any more on that. And so we just kind of have to sit back and watch it. And it's just kind of like a brutal backroom long-term negotiation going on. And it's for us all to see. Whereas most of the times when these things happen, we never see it. So it's just one of those things we're just going to have to watch this play out. And, he might come out looking great. I know to his people, he looks like the hero. To other people, he looks like a villain. And that's where it stands.
Moen has some breaking news.
Oh, what's he got?
Chip Kelly is officially hired as the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach for Ohio State. It is a 3-year guaranteed contract.
There we go. We need that.
Three.
Dun, 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 dun. We need that sounder. Yeah, we need that.
So, Moen, now that it's like official here, what are your thoughts on this hire?
I'm happy with it. Hey, look, I like Chip Kelly as an offensive coordinator. I think he's a terrible head coach, but his strength is offense. And now that he can just focus on offense, quarterback, he's got a running quarterback in Will Howard. We saw how well he did with Marcus Mariota, who was also a running quarterback. So I'm pretty excited to see how it works out. I was also excited about Bill O'Brien. I had more tempered expectations with Bill O'Brien, I should say. With Chip Kelly, with that much talent around him, I think he can cook.
What do you
3
think,
years
dude?
though. Didn't you say 2 years before?
Yeah, most of his coordinators he puts on 2-year contracts, but for this it's a 3-year guaranteed contract, and I'm sure there's a heavy buyout.
Yeah, are they trying to hold on to him?
I'm sure they are.
Okay.
They just had one coordinator walk away, so I'm sure they want to make sure that doesn't happen next season after they win a title.
But is even a $9 million buyout anymore anything?
Well,
that would be if they stayed 2 years and they didn't want him anymore. Send them packing for $9 million and just bank it.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
glad you're living rich. $9 million is something to me.
like if he wants to go to the NFL next year, maybe not the year after that.
You've been strangely silent over there.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious about this Chip Kelly hire and hearing Moen's thoughts. I mean, it sounds like it's a promising thing. The Bill O'Brien saga was just weird. Like from an
I
outsider's
understand the
view.
Bill O'Brien thing. It was somebody explained it to me that he's got his family settled in Boston, and one of his sons has an illness,
Yeah,
so he wanted to be closer to his family, which
that
I'm
makes
all
sense.
for. That's
For sure.
and I guess they let Bill O'Brien go for free. They didn't charge Boston College anything for
Well, that's a class act, actually,
poaching him.
big
So
time. Well, yeah, this Chip Kelly, it might work really well, and like the Ohio State roster's loaded, as we all know. So if that's the missing piece and stuff to make Ohio State the clear favorite here over Georgia, then that's great.
I would put them at number one.
Yeah, it sounds like it now.
Preseason ranking number one.
Just because of the coordinator.
Not just because. No, they are loaded. They are.
Okay.
You could even say
Just
before him.
clarifying.
Yeah, you could even say
Yeah.
before him, but I just think he does add to that with that offense.
Okay. Let's get to some more chats over here. Moen, thanks for that breaking news. I
Yeah, no
appreciate you
problem.
bringing that up. Let's see here. Joe Z says independent contractor status is the way. So
You're talking
doing
about
a
the
little
players.
Mandalorian there. Jamie Thornton says this is the only place I hear Georgia Tech mentioned. Is this the official fan club? You guys need to watch more
Razorbacks
games
are
and get
crazy.
those TV ratings a boost. And I think he's laughing side to side. Somebody set Jamie Thornton straight, would you?
I guess I should probably do that. I'm kind of the guilty party here.
You are the guilty party.
With all the talk about who was going to go with Florida State to the Big Ten, I decided to be a little contrarian from everybody and point out a school that I thought would be a great fit for the Big Ten and have a lot of future potential. And that was not getting talked about much, and that's Georgia Tech. So whenever we'd be talking, I would bring up Georgia Tech, and everyone else would kind of just do the eye roll and like, okay. So it became every time I say Georgia Tech, Moen, and everyone had to drink. So that's the start.
Anybody else want to say anything about this Georgia
yeah,
Tech thing?
Oh gosh, you guys.
The Georgia
Let's
Tech
get off the
thing
Georgia
is-
Tech side. Come on, guys.
I drink whiskey. These guys drink beer and cider. I mean, I don't think it's fair. I think they should have to drink 3 times for every one I drink.
Yeah, I don't know. Just go get some absolute.
I don't think you want that on stream. I'm just telling you right now.
All right, let's moving right
We're
along.
gonna get kicked off YouTube, guys.
Arnon Gad. Well, I'm not the one drinking. You're drinking. University of Chicago dropped money sports because they thought that money sports were a distraction from academics.
It's interesting, and yes, this is true. They dropped out of the Big Ten way back in the 40s, I do believe. So that was before it was actually even really money sports. They just really just wanted to focus on academics and not spend any of their money trying to keep up with the public schools that were starting to then put money into their athletic departments. Nowadays, U of Chicago just hangs out with the Ivy folks.
History note, history minute. The University of Chicago is where the atom was first split on the way to the nuclear bombs in World War II. So,
City of Chicago almost didn't exist.
Yeah, there for a minute underneath the football bleachers. That's true. Jamie Thornton says even though UNC is certainly a heavy lean to the SEC, they feel like a big fit. But hey, most people never would have said FSU to the big, so it is what it is. All right, without giving away the farm.
I'm not giving away the farm.
Just
Okay,
tease
so
it a little bit so people can know what's going.
do you think that UNC is a good fit for the big? That's a rhetorical question for everybody. Like, what do they have to offer? What does the big care about? Like, if you've watched any of the prior videos of Wild Ute University, you know our criteria. So just think to yourself, if that's a good fit, UNC, what they bring to the table as far as academic brand, football success. And there might just be a little bit of a qualifier in Tamar's video that you can check out too. It's a big deal. That's a unique aspect of UNC. But let's talk about UNC to the SEC. I think that makes a lot of sense. SEC doesn't have the North Carolina market. UNC is a brand for the SEC. It's a great academic school. So I think that SEC would love to gobble up UNC. But as far as the big and UNC, Just wait it out.
I love it. Anybody else want to say anything before we move
No
on?
spoilers.
No spoilers. No spoiler zone. All right, Moen, why don't you give everybody the results of our poll?
Yeah, the results of the poll is 70% voted villain, 30% voted hero on Kirk Schultz. So,
Kirk Schultz, like the
Yeah.
guy that got left out, villain.
well, what they
Well, yeah, that's a time for a different show. Or the show for a different time, something like that. We're going to end up having, and we haven't really discussed the formalization of this, but I would love to do a retrospective, a realignment retrospective based on the calendar and the reports, starting with Greg's first report about USC and UCLA. I believe it was 2 years ago, April. And I would like to have that conversation with people that were directly impacted. And I think it would be extremely interesting. We'll have to talk about doing something like that. I guess it's 3 years ago. I apologize. 3 years ago. All right. Steve High Florida says it was a typical CFP meeting, nothing accomplished, which has been the CFP MO for a long time. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We just spoke on that. Mike Smith says, I'm confused why a West Virginia fan was chanting GT. Another excuse, and I will leave that without comment. We'll
thanks.
move right along. King Spleen. I love the name King Spleen. You're new to the game here, and we appreciate you being a new member of the Mafia family. Thank you very much for that. There should be rules for coaches. If a head coach voluntarily leaves the school, he cannot be hired by another university until the following semester or maybe 1 year non-compete clause. And if you're good at trigonometry, you are able to follow that question or statement. What do you guys think about that?
free market.
That's fair. What do you think, Ute?
I agree. Free market.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see that ever getting passed. As much as these schools hate losing their coaches, they also like being able to grab other people's coaches. And if there is any type of clauses that makes that more complicated, you're basically making the athletic director's job more complicated. But
Very, very fair.
yeah, it should probably be the same as whatever the players have. That would be my opinion.
Comment from Jared Jones, another Ohio State guy. We love to have you here, Jared. It's good to see you. He says they, meaning Minnesota, won 29 games in 3 years before last, which is incredible for Minnesota. So a little more history on the Big Ten and Minnesota there.
And they beat Iowa this year and took that trophy finally, so we'll give them that.
Jared Jones, a follow-up, says 3 years, ? Does it take that long for a wide receiver coach to learn how to call plays and scheme up an offense?
He's the greatest recruiter in college football.
Whoa! Throws down the gauntlet. The greatest recruiter?
Oh, yeah. Hands down. Did you know that Ohio State has produced 6 out of the last 8 rookies of the year in the NFL?
Maybe. Sounds familiar.
CJ Stroud won Rookie of the Year last night.
Right.
That makes him number 6 out of 8. And you've got Garrett Wilson the year before.
Right.
And Chris Olave finished 2nd the year before. Both of them were recruited by Brian Hartline.
When was their last natty?
2014.
Okay. All right. So
When was BYU's last natty?
40 years ago this year.
1984, as a Ute fan, you get reminded of that every single day, Mo.
Well,
Don't worry
yeah,
about
that's
that.
true.
Okay.
Seriously, it's crazy.
Let's
stuff.
see here. Becky,
You know,
go
wait,
ahead.
before we leave, like the best recruiter in the nation is Tosh. I can't even say his last name. Lupoi Lupai. It's his last name. It's so hard to pronounce, but he's been everywhere. He's been at Oregon. He's been at Bama. The guy's a dynamic recruiter. Just wait, that guy's going to be a head coach one of these days, and he's going to be a stud. Tosh, remember the name Tosh.
Where's he
But he's
currently at right now?
He's at Bama last, I think.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Becky Go Huskies says hearing Grubb is in deep talks with Seattle Seahawks again.
No,
I thought he walked away from that.
Yeah, he came out the other day and said he's definitely the OC at Alabama. So I
Well,
think
but
might
Becky
be,
would know. She's in Seattle. Is it
right.
possible that he came back?
I
Maybe
don't
she
think
hadn't
so.
heard that.
Becky, do you know? Be interesting. Post your latest comment, and I'll make sure to highlight it because I had heard Grubb was at Alabama, staying. That's
Right.
what everybody else heard. So if that's new news, that'd be great to hear. I didn't want Chip Kelly for one. But anyway, yeah, let us know about that if that's confirmed. That'd be great. Rock and Rant says, disagree, Bomber. They need to get a chance to visit schools. Talking about the 30 days.
30-day window.
30 days is just way too long. I know what you're saying. They shouldn't have the chance to redo their entire recruiting time, though.
I think they're going to have to say all these guys who are moving and leaving, like you hold up the 30 days until like a period of time. So they all happen at the same time. That's part of the problem is you have these differing windows and that one school just becomes like fish chum and all the sharks surround it. Whereas if it all happened at the same time, like a special 30-day window, like, okay, you can leave at this time, and so I guess that is a little bit of a hold on coaches. Like if you're going to leave a school, it has to happen from here to here, maybe. Otherwise, it's a problem for that. But yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, they're going to have to come up with something.
I think Pickles did have a good idea when he said, why not hold it for like 10 days to give the new coach that goes to the school a chance to re-recruit his own players.
Yeah.
I could see that being
that could be the next step.
Yeah, something like that.
See if that slows it down a little bit.
I don't know if it will, but really quick, I want to get Wild Ute spelled it for me. It's Tosh Lupoi, Lupoi, and Lupoi, and evidently he's the best recruiter. I didn't know his name.
He's at Oregon right now. He's the DC at Oregon.
Okay.
42 years old, out of Walnut Creek, California. Cal Berkeley graduate. He's a little shady on the recruiting trail, but he's dynamic.
A little shady. I like that.
He's not, right?
A little shady kind of sounds like I think probably gets results then.
It sounds like Michigan should pick him up.
Grand Dan says, footnote about obsolete rule 30 days. It was supposedly based on transfers and class schedules. Nowadays,
I think he's talking about the main transfer portal because that people are like, why can't we move that back? Because it is kind of goofy timed. It doesn't really correlate well, but it is because of when class times start, so that the guys can get enrolled and be in the class for the whole class throughout.
I want to encourage everybody to follow us on Twitter. Make sure you're subscribing on the channel on YouTube, and then turn on your notifications. That way you know where our show is going to be popping on. We keep adding new brands every day. The Big West Mafia is coming on Monday, and there's going to be more shows and special features that are going to be coming. So the best way to be connected to us is you do subscribe, you do follow, and you turn on your notifications. And lastly, I'm going to post it one last time. This is how you would become a member of the Big 12 Mafia family.
Become a member of Big 12 Mafia by going to our homepage and hitting the join button located next to the subscribe button in the upper right corner. There are several membership levels to choose from.
Awesome. That was great. Let me check private chats here. Sure, go ahead, Moen, if you want to do that.
All right, we're at 125 viewers. We get to 175, we'll give away 5 memberships.
There we go.
175 is the number.
So everybody call your neighbors, call your friends, call your family. Get them to join the show right now, and we'll unlock,
call a
hopefully.
stranger.
What's that?
Call a stranger.
Call a stranger. Call a stranger. Go across the street, knock on somebody's door to join the show tonight. All right. As we speed through more of these comments, let's see here. This is the Georgia Tech one, Kenneth Evans. I think Georgia Tech would be a good ad for any conference.
Bomber, it's going to be hard to
Just
Do this
can't.
UNC video tomorrow. I'm telling
doesn't
you
wanna
what,
be
guys.
in
You
the-
talk,
Hey,
keep talking
look.
Georgia Tech, you might not get the video tomorrow.
Yeah, don't stop saying that word, that pair of words, because I need Ute bright and bushy tomorrow. Jared Jones says Moen Hartline has company as the best recruiter. Tim Walton coming in hot. I don't know who that is either.
Tim Walton, defensive backs coach at Ohio State. Yeah, he's got the top 2 cornerbacks coming in.
You
out of
Ohio
the
State
recruiting
guys.
class.
That's just nuts. It's not fair. I call foul. It's just not fair. Let's see. Your conundrum says Peter Tosh.
Peter Tosh.
I don't know who that is either.
Legalize it. You don't know who Peter Tosh is?
I don't.
Mm-mm.
Reggae singer.
Ah,
Okay. Now, it's been a while since I've done my reggae
Yeah,
dive.
he was one of the Whalers with Bob Marley.
Okay,
nice.
Bob Marley and the Whalers. Okay.
Yep.
Here we go. Mike Smith. This will generate some conversation. Kirk was partially responsible for the downfall of the pack. Sounds like a QB that throws 3 interceptions early in the game, but tries to come back and win the game at the end. Hero or problem? What do you guys think about that?
Let's jump back into the WSU Wazoo conversation here for Oregon State and Wazoo. Okay, so what's the best case scenario for Wazoo? Okay, so we know the
right
downsides.
here, Becky's put it right here. He's absolutely trying to force a conference to take them.
Yeah,
So-
I agree.
So he's trying to leverage his no vote into an invite into an A4 conference. Like, does anybody think that will work? I understand it. Like, it does make sense, like how you try to play that, but like that's. Oof.
I think the only way now, in a weird, ironic sort of way of it happening, would be for him to get the Big Ten and the SEC to actually help them in that regard, just so that get this passed and moved on, so they can start to get to other business. Do I think that's going to happen? I wouldn't bet on it, but I think
the
that
Big Ten should
might
take
be.
him. I think the Big Ten should invite Wazoo.
I get that, but
Because the funny thing is, like, everyone's implying, oh yeah, somebody should take them, but really they're pointing at the Big 12.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, so
I
what
mean,
are the-
I'm not-
the SEC take
I'm not going to
Wazoo?
lie about that and say, yeah, that's probably what they're doing. And that's
Like,
probably
Big
maybe
12's
why
not
the
gonna
Big
add
Ten and the
Wazoo.
SEC are off talking on their own. Like, you you want to come join us, Big 12? Well, invite Washington State and Oregon State and get this over with. And then you
What
can
about
come sit
this?
at our table. I don't
What
know.
about this comment from Jamie Thornton? Says, I was trying to get people to really think about this on Greg's show. If they, meaning Washington State, pisses off Sankey and Petiti enough to really break away. Sorry, wrong thing. I apologize. He's talking about the CFP and not Washington State. Sorry about that, guys. Go ahead.
I actually kind of think that's true, though. Like, the more that problems exist in the CFP with trying to all get on the same page, remember, they've got bigger things to face now than getting a few extra $1 million from this. Like, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket compared to
Yeah.
what they're facing. So that what they really need to see and probably want to see is people coming together, like figuring out solutions to these smaller problems so we can get to the bigger problems. So the more problem that happens in CFP with that, I could actually see them saying, yeah, we're not even going to do the CFP in 2026. We're not necessarily going to leave the NCAA and break away from everyone, but we're just not interested in doing this again.
Could Schultz's actions tonight at this very moment impact college football playoff committee final distribution in 2026? This one guy's actions, is it possible that he could break the whole thing for everybody?
No,
Okay, and why not? You
I just don't think that like it has that much influence. Like, it's an
Okay.
annoying thing at the end of the day, but I think it's all going to get worked out the way that it would have got worked out. We're talking about big time decisions, realignment decisions, a lot of money on the line. People aren't going to be brash and just jump at stuff just to get something done in the short term. People are going to have long term perspective. So if he's trying to leverage this into a Big 12 invite or an ACC invite, that's not going to work.
I don't think there's a whole lot of leverage needed for an ACC invite if they don't have some kind of future plan already in works, like what I've suggested. If they don't have that, I just think Washington State and Oregon State just have to hold out. I think that there will be spots for them there, but I don't know. There's no easy answer to this. We'd have to see what's actually going on and what's being talked about in the details. It's a pretty tough spot.
The whole idea of the holdout being something that they can in any way, shape, or form win, I think is crazy. Because the big conferences, the two biggest conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, they have all the money in the world. They can wait out 2 years of 6-6 and then burn the thing to the ground after.
Yes.
I don't. There's no way they can force them to make a decision.
But that's just the CFP situation. Like, they need everyone to come together because all of their conferences are named in House versus NCAA. They're all on the hook. So they, above and beyond, like it's the whole, it's in the forest for the trees. Looking at the CFP situation and fighting over that, if they just continue to sit there and fight over that, they're all going to get blown away. They're all going to get messed up when the big stuff hits. So personally, I think they just need to all sit down and figure this out and realize it may not be optimal in terms of the money from the CFP, but it's time to get together and realize we're all in this house case together. And that far outweighs anything in the CFP. And without being able to figure that out, I understand why conferences like the Big Ten and the SEC might be looking at this going, this is really frustrating. We don't know if we want to deal with this group again starting in 2026. Not once again, not to leave the NCAA, but to just, say run our own conference playoffs and then meet in a smaller tournament or something and just sell our conference playoffs to the TV networks without having to deal with you guys. So I don't know. I mean, I know everyone's like, we don't want to take them. We don't want to do this. And I don't have a great answer for anyone in this, but yeah, they're going to have to figure.
While we've been talking about this, so Schultz, like if you're trying to cause max instability, right? Like if you're just trying to fracture everything up, muck up the water so you can get an ACC invite, basically muck up the water enough to destabilize the environment so the ACC fractures quicker. Okay. If that's like the nefarious idea there, like we can get in the ACC if it fractures up and everything, and causing stability by not going along with a 5-7 model might be doing that. Like that's way out there, like conspiracy theories and stuff. But if he really wants to try to muck things up again, like that's a way to go about it. Because like a 5-7 model gives the ACC some stability.
Oh,
And
sure, for sure it does.
Without any
Absolutely.
long-term guarantee of a playoff invite,
Yep.
it creates more instability and more panic amongst ACC schools, especially, and big schools and Big 12 schools and everything. But he could be playing that card. Like, hey, I've got this leverage card where I'm just going to try to make it really ugly and everything, and the ACC might fracture in between.
Well, we all know what the first crack in that would be Florida State, and really the details of them leaving will dictate follow-on decisions and people's actions. If Florida State's able to leave for next to nothing, and I would say next to nothing would be 120 million or less, they're in super duper trouble. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Ute. I think what you're saying is right, though.
From that perspective, if I'm a Wazoo fan, I'm like, this guy's a hero. Like, make this thing burn to the ground and make us get into the ACC.
From what I'm seeing online, you're dead on. That is exactly. There is no one out of that camp. I have not seen a single person, Oregon State or Washington State. I've seen plenty of them online that is looking at him saying, stop doing this. No, they're all just like, get us into one of those conferences or burn it all to the ground. And so that's why I said in our thing, seeing the 70-30, I was actually surprised that it was 70-30 and not like 80-20, because I think to most people who are just looking at this, you're looking at them like, oh, you're holding up progress. But to them, he is 100% a hero. So it's really perspective. And I would just kind of challenge folks. Okay, just look at it from their perspective. Like if I was an Oregon State or Washington State fan, I'd probably look at them and go, fight the good fight, do what you can to get us in it. And if it doesn't work out, really the worst case scenario, that's no different than if we do nothing and just go along with it. Like it's probably the exact same thing. So they might as well try.
From a Cougar or Beaver fan, I think that's true. I think they do want that to happen.
And that's who they answer to.
But for everybody else, I think it could be counterproductive. They might say, "You're ruining this for us, and this is a pain in the ass now."
I get that, but that's not going to move them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know what's going to move them.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, we're guessing, right? Yeah. We can't be certain, but
yeah,
it's a high risk strategy either way.
Yeah.
What's in it for them, right? What's in it for Schultz?
Yeah,
that's what you need to think about. What's in it for Schultz? It's not a couple $1 million. It's
yes.
Not. So if it's not going to be an invite immediately, it's
future placement. It's
destabilization.
It's the saving of their athletic departments, possibly. It's saving of sports in their athletic departments. It's a very big deal for them. Much more bigger deal than a lot of people who are probably looking at them going, "You guys are, whatever." Like it's kind of life and death for some programs there. So I mean, he's got to do what he's got to do, I guess.
Mo, and you've been very silent.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the problem. You're playing a dangerous game for everybody else. I understand that you want to make sure your team gets into an autonomous conference. But ultimately what you can do is piss off Petiti and Sankey to the point they say, we're taking the ball and leaving the rest of you behind. So it could be a dangerous game for the G5s, for the Big 12, for the ACC as a whole, that these guys are going to say, you know what? There's no reason we should be held up by a school like Washington State. Screw it. We'll start our own playoffs.
Yeah, I think if you're a fan of the Big 12 or the ACC, this has to really make you nervous.
You know what? I don't feel that nervous because I think that we're getting to the place that we would have got to anyway.
Maybe.
Okay, we're having this conversation today, but this conversation is going to be had in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Sure.
So it's like we're just speeding this thing up. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah,
like,
that's
so
possible.
How's it going to all shake out? I don't know. Like the more we talk about this, the more I think that Schultz is a hero. I mean, if I was a Wazoo fan, I'd be all over this. Be like, dude,
Immaculat's right. It's all perspective. One man's hero is another man's villain.
That's what I think. Yeah. I don't know. Well, it'll be fun to cover. That's what we do here, and this is just absolutely fun. Okay,
can I add one thing to that real quick?
Go ahead.
You guys made a good point about, they could leave and do their own thing. But remember, Schultz is there talking with them, and we've seen SEC and Big Ten say they're not looking to break away. None of these plans are for that. But, people, understandably so, don't trust that based upon what's happened in the past. But Schultz is there. He's talking with those people, eye to eye, face to face, hand to hand. And if he's doing this, doesn't that maybe mean that he thinks that they don't want to break away and that it wouldn't be worth the effort? And so now he feels maybe emboldened to do this because he knows that's actually not possible. To us on the outside, we're looking and going, you could cause this to happen. But maybe from his inside perspective and what he knows it's not going to happen. So that's not actually at risk. Just throwing it out there because obviously I don't know. But I just kind of feel like I try to give him enough credit to like, okay, what are they seeing?
But that's where it comes back to my relationships speech, though. You're right. At this moment in time and in the universe, would it make that big of a difference? Maybe not. But I know this: you piss off the wrong people in the wrong area, in the wrong country club, you do not get invited back. And it doesn't matter how much good you do later. You've pissed those people off, and time heals wounds, but sometimes it takes decades to do that.
But just like how Uch just came around to that way of thinking, I would think that most of the people in that room, while they might be super pissed off at him, could probably look at it and go, I'd do the same thing in your position. And, they could probably, because they can literally empathize with that because they're in the same positions, just in a different school. So, like, if they were there, they could probably understand why he's doing what he's doing, even though he's probably pissing them off.
It's quite possible. And we won't know for a long time, but I really enjoy the conversation. Yeah. So we've got 15 minutes. We're going to do a 15-minute countdown. We're going to try to burn through as many of these comments as we can. And I want to invite you right now, if you want to get your comment read, and I haven't already picked it, it probably won't get picked. So if you could make that a super chat, and I read all super chats always, unless they come in after the gun, and then there's nothing I can do about those. But if you want your comment to be read on the show, make sure it's a super chat. Other than that, let's just kind of burn through these last comments, guys, and see where we end up in a few minutes. So the first one here is Mr. Monkey says, can I do an SMU Mafia show? I'll discuss my plans to buy my way to the top.
That's a great comment.
That is a good one. That goes in the Hall of Fame, Monkey. That was really well done. Very, very funny. All right. Mike Smith says Sankey farts in Kirk's general direction.
It possibly happened.
And his mother smells of elderberries.
Oh, my hell. Mike, what are you doing, man? We've got a good highbrow show going here.
Man, you got Mike in here. You can get anything.
All
you guys
right.
didn't get that reference?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. What did you want to party?
No, I just wanted to.
Recognition. I got you. I did. We need. Is there a drop from that movie that we could possibly bring in? Something from
That doesn't get you in
like the
trouble.
Knights of Knee or anything like that, Moen?
We could do Washington State doing I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead.
Genius off the top of your head. There you go. I love it. That's fantastic.
He is the movie guy.
That's true. He is. Why don't you take care of that, Moen? That's a good idea. Joe Z says the 4-time national champs rambling wreck of ...
Georgia Tech.
Oh, Moen.
He wanted.
Wasn't my fault. I didn't say it.
Thanks,
Let's see.
Jose.
T-Mac 1325. Good to see you, T-Mac. Says no. Schultz is trying to get a permanent P5 payout for the Pac-2, regardless of their conference situation. I think maybe you and I have gone back and forth on Twitter on this, T-Mac. I don't know about the rest of the guys. We'll ask them right now, but I don't think that's what they're looking for. And I don't know if it was you I was disagreeing with, and we can come to a conclusion where we just agree to disagree in a nice way. But the money is important, but in my opinion, the money's just a marker. It's about access. It's about being in the top shelf and at the top of the building club. What do you guys think about that?
I agree.
I think that might be like the last ditch thing that we try to get, or them, saying from their perspective. But I would agree with you. I don't think it's the first thing that they want. I definitely think they want to get into another conference. But worst case scenario, they might try to be like, okay, we didn't get that, but we'll compromise with this. And he might be right in that.
I 100% agree with Immaculate and Moan and you, Bomber. Yeah, but Immaculate's points, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yep.
I'm learning from you.
Right.
It's good to know. That's nice to know where there is growth out in the world. I just think they're in real trouble. No matter what happens, Schultz was a screw up from the beginning. So anyway, let's see here. Steve High Florida says Bill Hancock. Thank goodness he is gone. If you need evidence, go to a couple of years ago and listen to an interview on 365 Sports. The guy reminds you of the board of Augusta, egotist supreme.
You know what? Steve's right. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what the general does. They've got the Air Force Commandant, Lieutenant General, I think, who's coming in to be the new executive director that gets things done. And I'm really looking forward to see if it changes the tone in the room. Do you guys remember when he takes over? Was it April, March, May? I'm trying to remember. Sometime later this year. It hasn't happened yet, but there is a handover.
Yeah, I don't know when
else?
it is, but it is going to happen.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
And what is there an urgency associated with it?
No, it's just the executive director. What they do is whenever something comes down from the board, like we're doing this, the executive director is the person who's in charge of getting it done. But the executive director also, from what I've read, runs these meetings. So you're talking about a guy who could come in wearing his uniform, everything, all the regalia, standing up there in front of all these guys and trying to corral these guys, and keep them all going in a direction. And that's a lot of what these generals do, is the logistics and keeping people in line and going in one general direction. So I think it might just be what they need in that room to kind of get things moving. But hopefully it happens sooner rather than later. Like I said, I don't remember what date or even month that he takes over, but I agree with Steve. I'd be happy to see Hancock go and for the general to come in.
There's so many comments, guys. We're over 1,000 comments again.
Yeah, it's been busy.
Let's see here. Kenneth Evans, I hope the Big 12 and ACC likewise do not cooperate with the Big 10 and the ACC. Kenneth, I'm telling you, that's a short.
Right. That is right,
huge
Kenneth.
Mistake.
We must
huge
fight.
Mistake.
We gotta fight these guys. As Big 12 folks here, these guys just think they're gonna get scot-free. No way.
No,
no
we're
way.
your friends. I don't know why you guys want to fight us. We're your friends.
Hey, you know what? We're marginalized over here in the Big 12, so we're just.
That is true.
We're blazing the trail and being like, come on, just follow us. We're good.
Well, Mike Smith follows up and says, I want to see Wild Ute get loopy and start causing chaos.
Yeah, are you sure? Careful what you ask for.
You don't want to do that.
No, you don't want to do it. I've seen him angry, and it's not good. I would not recommend it. Timothy Green says, I would like to apologize ahead of time, but Georgia Tech.
Oh, my God.
How many of these, 1,000?
These Mountaineers, man, they are just trouble. Him and Mike Smith both trouble.
We're building up Georgia Tech one shot at a time.
Well, it's easy for me since I'm not drinking, so you guys are the ones suffering, not me. All right, let's get to. We got a few more minutes. We can say. Becky says everyone says the Pac-2 could buy their way in. Issue is who's going to pay for them. They cannot afford to do what SMU did at all.
Not so fast.
There's a lot of money there. I think they could actually do.
Because if they do, all of a sudden, all that money that's stockpiled, that they are able to kind of say that they need to save up for House versus NCAA, that all gets split up equally between all the departing schools. The moment they get a spot, that $240 million plus whatever it is that's sitting there gets divided up between the 12 schools. And so, schools like Arizona that are having some issues, they probably wouldn't mind that. And who knows about others, because they were planning on that money. That is future budgeted money that is not going to be there. And so if you got 4 schools coming into the Big 12 that we're planning on that, that's
how do you feel about them spending your money?
I don't like that at all. But that's kind of water under the bridge, right?
Of course it is. Yeah.
Money's gone. The rants were last December, November about that one. So going to move past that. So, hey, if Wazoo and Oregon State want to leverage that to get it to buy into the ACC, then if they can work it out, then kudos on them. If they can get that kind of deal. But I do agree with the thought that it's just strict financially and donor wise, they're nothing like SMU. SMU has extremely wealthy oil baron donors, extremely wealthy, and Oregon State and Wazoo just don't have that type of donor
they have
base.
NVIDIA money. Oregon
It's
State
not
has
like
NVIDIA
SMU
money.
is a different world, man.
Yeah.
SMU is one off. So I just don't think it's a situation. The only way that you could kind of bridge that is with Pac-12 money if they sell off assets to the Pac-12 to do it.
Right. Cleveland Rock says Schultz is in survival mode. Personally, I believe he is doing everything to disrupt the CFP. Good for him. What's the worst thing that can happen? Being placed in a G5 conference. I don't think that is the worst. I think
the worst thing that could happen is being in a G5 conference and the other conferences telling you to piss up a rope because you're not getting access to the CFP.
Yeah, that is the nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
And nobody can say that would never happen. That's the sad part. Jared Jones, Petiti and Sankey aren't leaving the Big 12 and ACC behind. No way they're that stupid.
That's the way I feel about it. I don't think we actually with the conferences, I don't think they want to leave Big 12 and ACC behind. I mean, there's a lot of relationships between certain schools there. I could tell you, I would be like, no, we don't want our relationship with Iowa State to be tarnished. And you look at some of the other ones that exist, but that would be my example. I don't think it's quite what some people fear, and the fear is understandable, but I think they just cut it down to just a few people in the room. So we'll see.
Very good. Replica. The worst thing that can happen to Wazoo is it gets blackballed and their athletic department folds. That is absolutely the worst thing.
That's the worry, is that you're going to start losing sports and things. So, it's real.
Do you want to add anything to that?
So in this case, like blackballed, so obviously they're not in the A4 right now, so this means that the Mountain West would blackball them, I presume. The American would blackball them, and then they would just be hanging out in the ether of a P2, which they're already in. So I don't know. I mean, guys, if I'm Schultz, I'm burning it down. Like, no matter what, I think that we've talked enough about this that I see it from that perspective. And I'm doing everything at the expense of college football to get into the ACC. Sorry, that's just how I see it. I care about my school. Yeah, I mean, they're always going to have a fall. I mean, unless they get blackballed, or really, we all know this, the payouts for the Mountain West are like $5 to $7 million a year.
Yeah.
Like, it's really not going to move the needle that much. So you have to do everything you can to get in the ACC. And so burn it down, baby. Burn it down.
Let's see here. Mike Smith says SMU have oil baron money, but they also have big stock in knee pads.
I had to star that one. I'm sorry.
Who starred that one? I was just
immaculate.
Who starred that one?
Mike Smith's one of my favorites, man. Sometimes the things he says, it's just
who's the editor in the background back there? And there's somebody double checking him.
Hey, I am not the one that just kept repeating Georgia Tech all over the place. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You got to pay the price for that one too, Immaculate. Come on.
All right, fine.
Sergeant Pickle says you want a fashion model. You want a fashion model. Send a general. You want a leader. Send a Marine.
There we go.
There we go. I love it. Let's talk military establishments. I appreciate all of them. One is not greater than another to me. Steve Ojai, Florida. Yep, put pressure on your mark in Big 12 and its members to take Wazoo, Oregon State, and see how that works. All involved have been crystal clear on their stance on Wazoo and OSU. And that, just so everybody knows, this is a sarcastic comment coming from Steve. He does not think they should do that because Washington State and Oregon State, in his opinion, shouldn't be in the room even. So, and I don't think that your mark would. Nobody's going to push him around except for Petiti and Sankey, I think. You guys want to add anything to that?
No. I understand it. I mean, he's not going to do it for free. That's for damn sure. It would have to be enough to move the needle. I don't know if it would be like whatever he wants to do in basketball, if he was to get deals for that. Like, I'm not in the room. I don't have all the cards to know what they could horse trade, but Yormark's not going to do it for free. It's going to have to be a considerable offer. So I agree with him. Like, it's just, they're not going to do anyone a favor.
Anything else you guys want to say about that?
I'll say this, and the only way that Washington State and Oregon State get into the Big 12 is if they decide in perpetuity, that means forever, to take a significantly reduced revenue payout.
I could see that.
That is possibly the way of the future. So we're looking beyond a current media contract and going into the future, way in the future, as long as the Big 12 is in existence. But really, the question is, does the subject school you're trying to add, do they add money to all the rest of the schools? Are they getting paid more from adding you? Or are they getting paid the same or less? Are they accretive, getting more, flat, or declining? Wazoo and Oregon State, if you added them to the Big 12 and they're getting paid as much as everybody else, that is a dip in everybody else's revenue payout. That is decreases everybody's money. $31 million goes to probably $28 to $29 million if you add Oregon State or Wazoo. If they take a significantly reduced revenue, maybe you can get that flat. I don't even know how small it has to be to really grow the pie for everybody else. That's why it just doesn't make sense, guys. That's just, I just can't see it. Even if you brought in like Pac-2 asset money, that can bridge the gap a little bit, but I just don't think the numbers work out in like the medium term at all for adding Oregon State or Wazoo. For the Big 12, the ACC is a completely different story. You've got travel costs, you've got Cal, Berkeley, and Stanford right there. Adding them establishes travel partners. There's financial reasons for it. It makes sense in the ACC, but the Big 12, it really doesn't.
Agreed. Anybody else want to add something to that?
Oh, that's good.
Okay, we're going to start to wind this down right now. Laura Weiss this is an update in Ute. I don't know if you knew this. I saw it in the news last night. Utah National Guard's going to the southern border in Texas. I just want to, we have National Guard people in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
If they happen to be part of it, you guys be safe down there. It's barely above third world, and it's a war zone. And a lot of that part, especially that stretch in southwestern Texas. So you guys be safe out there. That's a scary situation. What's going on in the border.
And any of the military folks out there, like seriously, thank you for your service. Everybody, like out there, we don't say that enough. We don't have opportunities to, but honestly, thank you.
Absolutely cool. Let's see here. What's this? I'm gonna have to call it soon. Bathroom is calling. Okay. Well, I'll say that is a wrap for us tonight. Everybody, thank you very much for being here tonight. You want to say anything on your way out?
No, I'm looking forward to recording that UNC. See if they're fit in the big video with you tomorrow morning, Bomber, and hopefully we get that out for everybody tomorrow afternoon sometime. So take a look at that. I would encourage you, when you do watch that video, as always, look at the last two, you call them slides, pieces of analysis and stuff, because I think it's pretty interesting and telling. So, yep.
Can we do 11 tomorrow? Is that okay with you?
Yep. Let's do it.
All right. Immaculate.
Like we didn't really get too much into it, but I would say to folks, read that little piece about the FCS meetings, kind of see the other side of the coin and what the folks on the other side are looking at and possibly planning to do. And there is also a little piece in there as well about the Big and the SEC. But otherwise, just hang in there. This seems like daily now we're getting new pieces, new hints, new openings. So just kind of looking forward to seeing where this finally ends up.
And you guys are doing a show not Sunday. No. Sorry, you're not doing a
show.
Super
Bowl Sunday. It's just
right. Okay.
Busy.
All right. Excellent. I did post the link again to that article that you were just referencing, Immaculate. So people can read that themselves. Moen.
I just want to say this is the best community on YouTube. We couldn't do it without you guys. You are absolutely appreciated. We love you all. Stay safe out there. Yeah, that's it. Stay safe.
Everybody have a safe Super Bowl weekend. If you're drinking, please don't drive. And I would just really recommend everybody tune in and watch that short tomorrow that Ute's going to put out. If you're a new member to the community and you're not a paying member and subscribed in that way, I would encourage you to become a member, because the shorts that we put out and the one tomorrow on North Carolina are tip top. I don't know anybody that does anything better. And I would really recommend, it's $3 to sign up for the lowest membership. Sign on, and just from week to week, we go from strength to strength. And that video tomorrow is going to be fantastic on North Carolina. Other than that, I want to say thank you for everybody to be here tonight. Friday nights are our nights, baby. And book it, put it on your calendars. We will see you next Friday. And for those that are wanting to tune into the Big West Mafia show, that will be Monday night at 8 Eastern. And we will see you then. Other than that, peace out and stay out of trouble. Bye-bye.